OTB AM.
With Gillette, put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
7:30 Friday morning. Very good morning to you, wherever it is you are this morning. We have a stacked show coming your way. We'll give you all the details of that very shortly. Eoin, Sheahan, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian.
How are you getting on?
Yeah, very well.
Another amazing night in Europe, where you're left wondering about both of the Premier League teams who are in action, exactly where you stand with them this morning. Arsenal are such a... I've often said this, but if I was to support a football team, it would have to be Arsenal. We always find ourselves in mornings like this trying to make sense of teams like Arsenal, and I don't know really where to begin with them.
You see, you are on this bandwagon now. Well, Arsenal fans and Manchester United fans united in, I guess, telling people that they knew what was cool before everybody else knew it was cool last night. They all know how amazing Thursday nights have been. Now, by amazing, I mean completely infected by a catalogue of errors generally every single Thursday night. But Thursday nights are where it is at. It's got a way better anthem than the Champions League. It has got way worse football, but by extension more relatable football, and every so often you've got absolute moments of genius because the defences that exist in the Europa League tend to be quite average. We saw that in the Manchester United game last night, and then on the Arsenal side of things, well, Arsenal are going to Arsenal, and I for one am shocked that Unai Emery versus Arsenal ended up being a complete car crash from a football quality perspective.
It's the Championship is better than the Premier League argument, Don, is where you're coming with here. This is like, you're not standing up for the quality of your team.
And the Championship is better than the Premier League.
Yeah, fundamentally, what is wrong with that club? Like they're heading into their fifth year now, where they're not going to finish in the top four. We still are like Spurs. The inclusion of Spurs in the European Super League last week really took a lot of heat off Arsenal, because they should have been smack bang in the firing line. They're winning nothing. They're not finishing the top four. There's this expectation that that's going to change at some point soon. But I mean, when is that going to change? It's not. Fundamentally, there is something deeply wrong with this club.
Yeah. You're dead right about the Super League thing. I think Arsenal got off scot-free with all the gags and jokes that were online. Maybe if the Super League had existed for another 48 hours, people would have turned their attention from Spurs to Arsenal.
Yeah. Hang on, this shower?
Yeah.
What?
Somehow Arsenal still have stock from 2005, it turns out. Well, they're reigning FA Cup champions, and I mean the whole trophy thing around Spurs has become a big thing, so maybe Arsenal, that's why they got off scot-free. But what is wrong with Arsenal? That is a deep question for a 7:32 on a Friday morning. The problem with Arsenal is they're a great example of why coasting in football will not only not get you nowhere, it will actually move you backwards. And Arsenal obviously have a bunch of owners who had the perfect business model, a stable business model, which they were going to try and attain through the Super League. But with Arsenal, they had this really weird situation around the turn of the decade and into around 14-15, where they had the most stable thing you could have in world football, which wasn't winning trophies, but it was finishing fourth, third, second, third, fourth every single year, which meant you were guaranteed the exact same number of games, because let's not forget you get smashed 5-0 by Bayern Munich in the last 16 of the Champions League every single year, and you know exactly what your income is going to be and what your output is going to be, the level of player you need to sign in order to keep this ticking along, and they were happy to be average. The problem is, football is a competitive thing, sport is a competitive thing, and when clubs behind them decided to not settle for being average, the likes of Leicester City, even the likes of Tottenham, who tried to get bigger and better and showed ambition with their new stadium, that is when Arsenal coasting all of a sudden were treading water, and all of a sudden they finished fifth, sixth, 10th, as it is this year, and that is what is wrong with the football club.
You describe it as average there, but I mean, like, you're going to look at United season now. They are definitely into Europa League final. They are definitely going to secure Champions League football next year. Like, maybe there's a few pieces of the jigsaw. Arsenal are funny in that they remind me the way I feel about living in Ireland. I don't think that I'd like to move out of here when the weather is really crap. It's when it's sunny, I'm like, oh my God, it would be amazing to live in a country that's like this all the time. And I'd say that United fans are a bit like that. Looking at United, it's when they're crap, they're like, oh well, listen, we're just slumping from one game to another. It's when they're good, they're like, oh, if we could just get maybe a number 6, or there's a couple of little positions we could, decent centre back, and suddenly actually this team could kick on. But Arsenal are so far away from that, and I think that the tempered fans, and maybe I'll include yourself in that, Owen, who have been giving Mikel Arteta a bit of sway over the last while, giving him his head a little bit to try and get this thing right, to get rid of the dead weight sort of, people who are pulling against him culturally, the Ozils of this world, and everything is going to come right. But it does feel as if he's losing that now.
Yeah, I think next week will be very interesting. I do think there's a difference between making a final and losing in a semi-final in this competition. I think Manchester United are way too good for the Europa League. We saw that last night. We saw that at times against Granada, against Sociedad. They are just too good for this competition, and they will more than likely beat whoever they come up against in the final of this competition. The thing with Arsenal is that Mikel Arteta obviously has not had a great season. He's learning on the job, but he should be getting better, and he will start next season as a better manager than he started this season. He should also start next season with a better squad than he started this season with, because you look at two of their best players this season in Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka. They'll both be older. You'd like to think that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would not be crap at football at the start of next season. There is another player, Thomas Partey, who joined last at the start of the season, who hasn't settled in fully but has showed glimpses. A full pre-season for him. He will likely be better. Granit Xhaka not playing at left back maybe, and a fully fit Kieran Tierney. That would also be an improvement. I can point to 5 or 6 different things that have been notable markers of improvement or hope for improvement this season that would give me hope in Mikel Arteta by extension. And the thing is, if you sack him and bring somebody else in, first of all, who are you getting? How are you attracting a good manager to Arsenal at the moment? I'm not sure you can actually make a case for anybody that would definitely do a better job than him at the moment. And regardless of what happens next week, I would be giving him the start of next season and then reassessing things after the first 10-15 games of next year, because that's when the pressure will really get on him. He
can only dream about being a top-class quality manager like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Eoin, is what you're saying, that this is something that maybe is in his future. But I mean, I say that somewhat facetiously, but I have to say every week that goes past, and there were certainly times last night that United did look like they might be headed in Arsenal's direction, but they obviously managed to pull it out of the fire in a very big way and are pretty much into the Europa League final at this stage. So that's that. We've lots coming up on the show today, but we're going to talk to Hector a little bit later on. We'll give you a flavour of what's on the show in a bit, but we're going to talk to him a little bit later on about what one sporting event, if he had to make a pick of one sporting event that he would want to go to when everything gets back to normality on. And I'm this has definitely changed for me over the last while, but like I have, looking at Messi for example, there's been so much conversation about him and stories in the papers again this morning that it looks like he's going to sign up with Barcelona again for another year beyond the end of this contract. So getting to see him is definitely something I'd like to do. The obvious things like wanting to go and see a Westmeath game, wanting to go and see a Leinster game, but what's moved in, sidled in, shimmied in at number one on the list over the last few weeks, and it's got to do with my TV viewing, is the Monaco Grand Prix. I just have to get to it. I've been looking at Drive to Survive over the last couple of months, and the race, the crack, the crowd, the jeopardy of it. I need to get to the Monaco Grand Prix.
This is your calling in life. Is it anything to do with the copious amounts of French wine and French cheese that you consume around Leinster games?
Well, I mean, in my mind, going to Monaco, I'm going to be sat on a yacht consuming lots of those things that you've just mentioned, looking on. In reality, if I was to somehow manage to thumb my way to Monaco, and I'd be like, sort of getting some sort of vantage point where I didn't have to pay for a ticket, is probably what's more likely. But I just desperately have to get there.
So can we get like Richard Dunn to put you up for a night? Like I heard Monaco's a pretty expensive place to go. Like, would you sit amongst the unwashed, or would you have to corporate box it?
I would. I mean, as I said, in my mind, when I go to sleep dreaming about this at night, I'm on the yacht with my sort of 6-pack and the speedos on me on and all that sort of thing, which will give you a good sense as to how ludicrous this notion is. No, in reality, I will be happy to sort of put myself right in the face of jeopardy there, on one of those chicanes, if it means that I'm going to get a look at this stuff. What are you looking forward to?
I clearly haven't come up with anything of that sort of depth when it comes to even travelling abroad. I just want to go to a championship match, a knockout championship match. That's all I want. I don't care who it is. I just want to, like you mentioned the word jeopardy there, that's kind of a key point. I think that our television consumption has involved a lot of things that don't involve jeopardy. That's why there was a little bit of excitement around last night, because it had a little bit of that involved. But we've watched so much Premier League football where, I don't know, Liverpool can get beaten 7-2 by Aston Villa and can redeem themselves next week. I want something where no redemption is possible, where defeat means defeat, victory means victory, and a quarter-final, semi-final or an All-Ireland final in either code would absolutely suit me down to the ground. Something where somebody's packing their bags and going home. We might get it this year if things go extremely well. Chances are we won't. Now, ideally, if I could pick this year. It would be phenomenal to see Kerry against Cork in Fitzgerald Stadium in a proper knockout, because that
suddenly means something.
Yeah, and it won't happen next year. Like those games will be brilliant. You'd like to think for the next little while, because Cork are all of a sudden quite good. But this is the one year where it would actually be knockout, and for that to be in front of a packed crowd would be incredible. But that's obviously not going to happen. But it might happen for a few hundred people. Like, I mean, if there is old people who have their vaccine already, or people who are fully vaccinated and could get in, good luck to them. That would be an absolutely amazing thing to get, whether you're from Cork or whether you're from Kerry. That for me has to be the first thing that comes to my mind. Yeah.
Agree with that. And I mean, if Shane Lowry has his way on, it could be Offaly versus Kerry sometime soon. Again, who knew that couldn't self be a rivalry. I was looking at that yesterday, and I have to say that I started to think about what the opportunity for the other counties that might exist out there, and obviously looking at it very selfishly myself. I am this morning on, as you know, calling on Niall Horan to dip his pocket and dip into his pocket and get things fixed for Westmeath. Like, give us a dig out. Forget your gym plus coffee nonsense that's going on during the week. I mean, it's nice gear and all that. And forget your golf philanthropy and your business interest there and all that stuff that comes with that. Forget about all that, Eoin. Make Westmeath great again is what I'm calling on Niall Horan this morning. That, you know, Westmeath and Dublin have dominated Leinster, as we know, over the last 10 or 20 years. It's time we need just something, a little sprinkling of something, a little grain of rice that's going to tip the scales in Westmeath's favour and get us back competing at the top table again. I mean, you know, we did it once before, and so that's what we need. We need a kick on, and Niall Horan, you are the man to do this. Come on, dip in your pocket, make Westmeath great again, and get us back at the top table.
The question I would have is, where would the Niall Horan Centre of Excellence be? Would it be in Mullingar? Would it be in Athlone?
I mean, I think that Kerry know all about this sort of rivalry, about the you know, when it comes to museums. I think our museum would effectively be one wall, so we can't get on that conversation too deeply. Selfishly, I would want it in Athlone, but I think
where's Niall Horan from?
He's from Mullingar.
Right, so it'll be in Mullingar.
It will be in Mullingar, and I'd be willing for the greater good. It would also, by a knock-on, sort of save the Leinster Championship, of course. So,
of course,
you know.
But, like, I mean, is Niall Horan a GAA man? Do you know?
He's a Derby County man, and he's obviously into his golf.
No.
I mean, I think
he is a Westmeath man. He will 100%. If you make enough noise about this, he will come calling. Just make sure you tag him on Twitter. Well,
Shane Lowry over the next 5 years is going to donate, it seems, in hard cash about 750 grand, but he's also going to raise probably maybe double that by a couple of corporate appearances per year. So, I mean, the options are there, Niall. Hit me up at a DM and we'll get this sorted. Right, you're watching OTB AM. It's 7:43 on this Friday morning. We are live in association with Gillette. Good mornings. Start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. John Duggan is standing by. Morning, John.
Adrian, Owen, how are you doing?
Good. You've been making a few quid this week.
I'm not doing too bad. The 50-1 winner on Tuesday on the show, and the horse that I tipped that day, Singing Banjo, won yesterday at 33-1. The same horse. Didn't have anything on him. Life is mad.
Yeah, and that we all need to start including yourself, JD. We all need to start heeding your advice. So that's up to this point, and into day 4 now. Tell us. Look into your crystal ball there and tell us what's going to happen.
Well, Honeysuckle is unbeaten. She's a brilliant winner of the champion hurdle at Cheltenham. I really hope she wins for Rachel Blackmore and Henry de Bromhead. Such a beautiful horse. That's in the champion hurdle at 5:25. The only thing about it is Henry de Bromhead hasn't had a winner this week at Punchestown yet. Neither has Denise Foster nor Joseph O'Brien. Willie Mullins is just killing everything. He's 13 winners already. You want to be back in Willie Mullins' horses. Bizarrely, actually, in my tips today, I don't have any Willies tipped, but like this, in some races, he's got more than one. But you want to be just keeping on the right side of Willie Mullins today and tomorrow. So Honeysuckle, you can't be backing her at odds on. The one I've gone for in the race is Abracadabras, not the actual spelling of the Steve Miller Band song, but about a 10-1 shot. Won the Aintree hurdle last time out. I think the conditions will really suit Abracadabras today. He's a course and distance winner, will like good ground, needs a strong pace. Jack Kennedy is a really good jockey. He's on board. I think a 10-1. To chase Honeysuckle home or to capitalise if she runs below par. So Abracadabras each way, 10-1 in the 5:25. My nap of the day is a horse called Port Stanley. For all those fans of the Falkland Islands, 10-1 shot. Jessica Harrington trains. She had a couple of winners on Wednesday. Robbie Power rides 10 stone 6, has won a point over 3 miles. This race is 2 miles 5. Tuned up with a nice performance at Cork, second last time out to get ready for this one. Has got form behind Abracadabras and Enva Allen in bumpers. That's good form. I think Port Stanley can definitely go close at 10 to 1 each way. That's the nap of the day in the 4:15, a 2 mile, 5 furlong handicap chase. In the 6:35, Kay de Burlay in the Hunter's Chase is 7 to 2. Has won the race twice before. He's in good nick. He's 12 years of age now, and you'd think maybe Father Time is running out for him, but he's won his last 2 runs impressively. Billaway, the favourite, has had a hard season. Bob and Co, the other fancied horse, sometimes doesn't jump very fluently. I think Kay de Burlay, sometimes the answer can be obvious, and I think the answer might be Kay de Burlay in the 6:35. And the final race, the bumper, the 7:35. Martin Brassel, the Kildare trainer, has had 3 runners this week. 2 of them have been second. Stone Mad in the hands of Derek O'Connor cost 185,000. He hasn't been seen on a race course, but not a lot of these have. And I think about 5 to 1 Stone Mad could reward a yard that is in decent form for Martin Brassel. So Stone Mad to win, Kay de Burlay to win, Abracadabras each way, and the nap today each way is Port Stanley. All of these are going to go up now on otbsports.com and on the OTB app. And if you're looking to back other horses, just keep on the right side of Willie Mullins after his 13 winners this week.
Brilliant, JD. We'll keep an eye on all those over the course of the day. Thanks, Minnie. Well done. The success so far. John Duggan there, looking ahead to day 4 at Punchestown. Here's the flavour of what's coming up between now and 10 a.m. this morning. Alan Quinlan standing by. We'll be talking to him very shortly. Obviously, a massive weekend of rugby, so we'll get his thoughts on all of that in just a few moments' time. Hector Ó is going to join us on the line just after 8 this morning, and there is so much to talk to him about as we emerge from hibernation as a nation. We'll get Hector's thoughts on that and plenty more besides as well. He's been on the sidelines doing a fair bit of coaching over the last while. We've been chatting to Doireann O'Sullivan, the Cork footballer, about the state of the women's game in Ireland. Conversation that unfortunately we're having to have with Doireann again, and that the funding of it is just not where it needs to be, and we'll get into that with Doireann at 8:30 this morning. We'll have Andy Mitten to reflect on United last night and looking ahead to the United-Liverpool game as well at 10 to 9 this morning. Just after 9 we will have a very special crappy quiz, and then John Giles coming your way at 9:30 this morning. So that is what's on the show today.
It is 7:47 a.m. We'll be getting to Alan Quinlan in just a moment. We've been asking people at home what people are most looking forward to when it comes to their sports bucket list and what thing they want to get to first. Paddy Fahy has been in touch to say would settle for a donkey derby at this stage, and he's not wrong. I would also settle for a donkey derby. I would settle for a game of tiddlywinks at this point, a good competitive game of tiddlywinks, I must add. Anything really at this point. I
was walking through the park the other day, and there was a bunch of lads out having a bit of a kick around, sort of five-a-side, and just totally unbeknownst to myself, I was going around actually listening to Tommy and Hector on the podcast, and unbeknownst to myself, I was stood there for about 5 minutes just watching these lads playing football. It was the first live sport I'd seen in such a long time. The quality was not necessarily amazing on, as you might have imagined, but
hold on a minute here now, Adrian. I want to call you on that, because there will be so many people at home who will say, oh God, I would settle for anything. I just haven't seen live sport. You were at an All-Ireland final. You were at the All-Ireland final.
That's true. But look, it is true, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday. That is absolutely true, and straight away that obviously puts me in a position of
power.
I'm not sure about power, but fortune. But the outside of John O'Leary sitting slightly over to my left and sort of effing and jeffing at everything that Dublin were doing wrong at various points, there's not what I'm talking about is like my wish to be at Monaco is not to be at an empty Monaco. It's to be at Monaco with 450,000 people or however many people it is that turns up to one of these things.
Yeah,
I don't want to be there solo.
Alan Quinlan, what's the sporting event you're most looking forward to when fans are allowed back?
Oh, that's a good question. The All-Ireland final, and hopefully Tipperary will be in it, and I'll be there watching it.
It's a good shout.
Hurling final.
Yeah.
The hurling final now. Hurling final.
You take the football as well, I'm sure, but the hurling final will obviously be the sweet one. Let's get straight into La Rochelle against Leinster this Sunday. Alan, the big talking point obviously is no Johnny Sexton. We had Louise Galvin on the show a couple of days ago, and she was making the point that an Ireland without Sexton is a bigger problem than a Leinster without Sexton. Do you go along with that?
I'm not sure. I think Johnny Sexton's a big loss. I think his influence, temperament, his drive, desire, all that stuff, and his experience in these big games. Ross Byrne did fantastic against Exeter when he came on, and but it was a dominant team performance as well. And he's underrated and probably gets criticised at times, and has been criticised over the years when he's played with Ireland. But it's all about the team. If no fly half can play well unless his forwards play well in front of him, and unless they come up with some individual brilliance that changes a match when they're under pressure. But I think Sexton's a big loss, and it could be crucial. But again, Leinster are a very cohesive team, and if they perform as a unit, I think Ross Byrne will be fine.
Is there a slight concern there, though, that the pack don't have dominance on Sunday, and that Ross Byrne doesn't have it as maybe as easy as he would in the Pro 14?
Yeah, he doesn't have to win the game on his own. I think when they don't have dominance, and if they don't have it in periods of the game on Saturday, it's just about composure, and Leinster are very, very composed. Obviously, the form of Henshaw this year he's been absolutely fantastic, and giving him the ball, he gets you that go forward. His experience as well, and just his level of performance has been so consistent and good this year. But they have other match winners. Quinlan has been very good at full back. Larmour can do something brilliant. Gary Ringrose as well. There's a lot of motivation for a lot of these players, obviously, to get into a final. But Warren Gatland picking a line squad next Thursday as well. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for him. But if it's a tight game, I think Sexton could be crucial. But we'll have to wait and see, I think. But as I said, look, they've shown so many times in big games that the team performance is very consistent, very good at a high level. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They put huge pressure on the opposition. But they're going to come up against a very physical side as well on Sunday. So I think it's crucial where Ross Byrne plays the game for Leinster. But someone like Luke McGrath he's been brilliant this year as well, and really, really performed very well for Leinster. And he does a lot of the kicking out of their own half with box kicks and clearances. So I think it's probably up to him, up to the Leinster pack and Luke McGrath to take off that pressure and not just fire the ball back to Ross Byrne and expect him to do brilliant things with it. He's well capable, as I said, but it's just how they manage that and how manage their kick retreats out of their own half.
You're not a bit convinced by Ross Byrne reading between the lines?
No, I am, but I think, look, at the end of the day, and it's no disrespect to Ross Byrne, but Johnny Sexton is a serial winner, and he's a really, really strong temperament, and he'd be a loss to any team. Of course, what Louise is saying is they've coped well without him, and Ross Byrne is very, very comfortable when he plays for Leinster. I think there's a different sort of pressure when you play for Ireland. He looks very composed and relaxed and confident in a Leinster jersey. So I can understand what Louise means by that. But at the end of the day, Adrian, he's a serial winner. He's a very determined person. And it would be a bit of a concern. But look, the quality, and most teams have to deal with these kind of things.
Is it his temperament, Quinny? Is that what you're saying? That look, there are few players like Sexton on the planet, but that Sexton has that ability, even when the pack are going back a bit, to help turn a game a bit. Are you saying there's a question mark a bit about that about Ross Byrne?
I'm not saying there's a question mark. I'm saying it's down to experience, Adrian. You know what I mean? Johnny Sexton. It just has such determination, and he seems to be able to drive people on. Ross Byrne is not the same type of character. He's not your dominant, outspoken, in-your-face type out half. I think things have to go well for Ross Byrne. For the people around him have to play well for him to do well. They did that in Exeter. And look, maybe he will be the one that will pull him out of a hole on Sunday if they need him. He's capable of doing that. I don't think it's a huge issue, but I still think having someone like Johnny Sexton not playing is a loss to Leinster. His overall presence, his drive, his desire, his leadership. And I just would be concerned that if they are in a difficult spot on Sunday, that maybe we'll see Rossburn become of age and really kind of shut up the doubters. He did that in Exeter, but a lot of the play in Exeter was front foot ball. I think the pack in front of him were outstanding. Right across the board, the whole team played well, and he was superb as well. So he'll be very confident from that. I'm not saying it's a big issue. It'll be an issue if they lose, but I just think someone like Sexton's presence having him around is really important. But look, Leinster are still good enough to go and win this game. They're a top quality side who've shown time and time again that they have that control, that composure, and know how to win these big games.
Part of that know-how in the pack is obviously with the wizened heads of the likes of Devin Toner, Scott Fardy. And when it comes to Toner, it looked after the Pro 14 final as if he was going to leave. He had his hand on the trophy at the end of that. Things have changed in the meantime. He's going to stay on again for another year. How impressive has he been this season? And he's clearly so deserving of that new contract.
Yeah, he's been very impressive. I think it's always a concern when you're kind of winding down, you're coming towards the end of your career, and there's uncertainty around whether you get another contract or not, or whether you want it. And I think he's been very, very impressive. He's the type of fellow who just goes about his business, and he's pretty relaxed, Devin, and he's performed so well over the years for Leinster, has been crucial to them. So it didn't surprise me, his reaction and the way he's played, and he's been consistent and really important for him. Who'll start on Sunday? Will it be James Ryan and Scott Vardy? Will it be Toner and James Ryan? Who knows? But Devin Toner has been very, very impressive, to be fair. And I experienced this myself when you're kind of getting to that stage where you're kind of coming towards the end and you want to play on, and there's an extra spark and fight in you to try and get that extra contract. And he's shown a desire for that, Devin Toner, in his performances, and I think he deserves credit for that.
We maybe have learned, I know it's not a like-for-like situation, but maybe Irish Rugby has learned a little bit from the Donegal-Ryan situation.
Yeah, look, it's down to individual choices as well. Donegal could have stayed on. There was a contract on the table. He wanted something new. That's been well documented. Devin Toner, I don't think is going to be picked for Ireland again, is he? But you never know. But I think he's important to Leinster, and he's important to what they're trying to do in that transition for Ryan Baird, and to try and get more depth and more second rows coming through as well in Leinster. Very experienced player as well. So that experience adds a lot of value, but he's got to play and perform well, and he's done that recently. So maybe some similarities, but I think it's down to individual choices as well.
So what way would you be leaning with those selections on Sunday that you mentioned there?
I'd be playing Toner, I think, and probably James Ryan. Although Fardy, it's a tough one. Fardy offers so much around the field. He can upset the opposition. He can stop their flow. He can bust up mauls. He's really good at the breakdown. But what you get with Toner in the line-out is you get a real surety around winning that first phase ball and putting pressure on the opposition as well. So it's seeing where it depends what their needs are and what they see themselves in training. But for me, it's probably Toner and Ryan with Fardy to come on, to have that experience, to come on if they're in a decent enough position, to really get at La Rochelle. And like I say, his overall game, Fardy, is fantastic. He's been brilliant for them in the last number of years.
Maybe some of those selections, Quinlan, might come down to Andy Dunn was talking in the week about the La Rochelle explosiveness in broken play, and I wondered, when you sort of put that in the mix along with maybe some question marks about some of the wide Leinster backs, how all that plays out and how you counter, if it's possible to counter something like explosiveness in broken play.
Yeah, well, I suppose, look, they're going to have defensively they've been rock solid, Leinster, in these games, and my only concern is if they beat Munster on the 27th of March, and they were very impressive in that final, very, very impressive against Exeter in the quarter-final. But when they line out on Sunday, that'll be 5 full weeks. That's 2 matches in 5 weeks. Now, you can look at that as a positive, that they're going to be very, very fresh. But 2 games in 5 weeks, Leinster don't surprise us with their performance and the way they can just switch it on and turn it on. But that would be another little concern for me, that they haven't, the team that's going to be selected for Sunday, and that'll be announced later on. They've only played twice in 5 weeks, and the physicality and the explosiveness that you're talking about there with the likes of Skelton or Bottia or Victor Vito, all these Leinster players will have encountered that before, but it's about how you deal with that in the one-on-one situations and make sure you win the collisions and the impact tackles and stuff like that.
Do you stand off a bit at the breakdown, Quinny, or like if you know that they're going to be that explosive and that pacey on the break, like is there a sense that you actually just let them have it at the breakdown and get your defence set cleanly, or is that what do you think about how that?
No, you don't. Leinster play their own game and they will attack and try and impose themselves, and I think probably the key would be the breakdown, because if they can slow La Rochelle down a little bit and negate their threat of getting quick ball and getting their explosive players onto it and making carries, I think that's an integral part of the game. Obviously the set piece is crucial as well, getting a good scrum and line out. But and sometimes you just got to man up then, Adrian, and make sure that you're getting off the line. You're very conscious. Someone like Bottia at 12, he's so good going forward, and also without the ball, his threat at the breakdown. So look, games at this level, you're going to come up against very good teams, and you've got to get most parts of your game right and look back and analyse it, and they're the kind of crucial areas. And you've got to be really physical. Will Skelton is someone who is playing for La Rochelle. He played in that final in 2019. And it's not a surprise that to stop Leinster, you've got to physically be at the pace with them for 80 minutes, and you've got to win the collisions against them and stop them getting over the gain line, because they're a side that can just hold on to the ball so well and so impressively and create opportunities. And they will be hoping that they can do that, get into multi-phase, and hope that someone will switch off in the La Rochelle defence, which is a very impressive defence now, let me tell you as well. They get off the line so aggressively, and they're a physical side as well. So it's a hard game to call. It's a tough game, and Leinster themselves, they can't really, you could never stand off a side. I think no one would ever go out and prepare. I think I played in games against French sides, particularly Toulouse, where at times the focus would have been let them have the ball, but take them to ground, stop their offloading game, tag the ball, hunt on the inside, because when they get their flow going and the offloads going, it's so hard to slow them down, and it's so hard to set your defence. All French teams are like that if they get the flow going. So it starts with the integral parts, the kind of fundamentals of breakdown, scrum, line out, that first phase possession that they're allowing them, and to make sure they win the collisions. You've got to man up, Henshaw, Bottia is an enthralling kind of a matchup in midfield, but also the back row as well. They've got Liebenberg is a very aggressive player. Victor Vito can be a match winner. He's someone who can be superb when he gets on the front foot, and then you've got Raymond Rule and Dylan Lades out wide. They're lethal. And Brees Doolan at full back. So a lot of good players I'm naming on both sides. And it's really down to, who performs well and consistently. And Leinster, the side that don't really make a lot of mistakes. They play in the right areas. They seem to do the right thing a lot. And that's the challenge for Ronan O'Gara, John O'Gibbs and his La Rochelle side. How composed can they be when they're under pressure?
Tonight then, there's a great start to the rugby weekend. Leicester against Ulster at Welford Road from 8 o'clock. There's a couple of really interesting matchups in this one, Quinny. There's Balakoon against Nadolo on the wing, potentially. For people who are talking about this guy as a potential test player for Ireland, this is a really exciting matchup.
Yeah, it is. He'll not want to give Nadolo space or time on the ball, because when the engine revs up and he starts moving, he's incredibly hard to stop. Baloucoune is a very, very talented player, and he's got that X factor, and he's got natural speed. You give him some ball in space, and he can skin players. So he's just got to make sure that he gets the physical side of his game right tonight against Nadolu, and doesn't give him space, gets up right into his face, and stops him getting his momentum forward. But on the flip side of that, if Baloucoune can get some space, well, he has the ability to go around people, and he's scintillating at times. But it's the type of ball that Ulster give him and deliver to him.
Is it 2 Irish wins this weekend?
I'd be confident that it'll be 2 Irish wins. I think they're both tight games, and they're down to what I call the basics of rugby: is desire, aggression, physicality. All that stuff needs to be there, and you need to bring that intensity to a different level to win these big games. They can be nervy affairs. Semi-finals sometimes are not the best spectacles as regards the ball being thrown around everywhere. But for Ulster tonight, they've got to really be physical, not make the mistakes. They got away with it a bit of times in Northampton. Their attack was very good, but they were sloppy sometimes in defence. And last week would be a hammer blow to them. They were in a very good position, but you can't, like Connacht had the ball probably for 20 minutes of that second half last week, and Ulster just couldn't get the ball back and impose themselves physically. They've got to do that tonight. Leicester are not the Leicester of old. They've lost 9 times this year in the Premiership. They've been struggling the last couple of years, but they'll see this as a real opportunity to turn the tide for them and get back to winning ways and get into a final. But there has to be a desperation for Ulster as well. It's a long time since they've won a trophy. They've shown us glimpses of real promise at times under Dan McFarlane, but a little bit of inconsistency. So I think they're good enough to go there and win tonight. I fancy Ulster to go and win. And I think Leinster, just that bit of experience, might get them across the line on Sunday. But if they allow La Rochelle play, and if La Rochelle get on the front foot, I think they're a very, very dangerous side, like with Duggan and Raymond Rule and Lades and these guys. So really 2 intriguing games, 2 to look forward to, but I'd be confident it'll be 2 Irish wins.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be having that conversation with you next week, Quinny. Thanks a million.
Cheers, lads. Thanks.
It is 8:08 on this Friday morning. A packed show still to come here on Friday's OTB AM. We're going to hear from Andy Mitten before 9 o'clock this morning, and the brilliant Doireann O'Sullivan, as well as Hector Ó. But before all of that, it's been a massive week for golf, as courses were opened up, of course, during the week. Golf Weekly has delivered again for its patrons for the week that's in it. 2 brilliant feature interviews. On Monday, we brought you an hour with Padraig Harrington, and then yesterday, the man of the moment, of course, Shane Lowry, joined them. Here he is on why he got involved with Offaly GAA.
There's rumours now that on the front of the jersey it's going to say Lowry.
Yeah. No,
are they building a statue outside the stadium?
I think even if hopefully it looks better than that Cristiano Ronaldo one that they did for him. But no, if I look, obviously, look, I'd love to be able to be in the position to come in and just throw fortunes at it, but I'm not. I'm still kind of working my way along in life, and looking after my family that way. And so it's something that I could have easily kind of buried my head in the sand, I think, and just been over here in Florida and watched them and give out about them and do the same thing as everyone else. But I feel like I've got an opportunity to help people. And I just did an hour of media there, 45 minutes of media before I came on here, and I was talking about, somebody asked me what would success look like, and I don't really know what success looks like. Obviously, look, I'd die a happy man if I could see an Offaly man walk the steps of Croker again. That's kind of, that's where I see it. But, success would be keeping young lads involved in GA and, wanting to put on the green, white and gold jersey of Offaly. Because when I was a kid, lads, honestly, right, it wasn't about golf, it wasn't about anything like that. All I wanted to do was play football or hurling for Offaly. Like, that was it. And that's what I'd love to see in the county again. And I'd love to be driving down to town in Clara and see young lads out with hurls and footballs stuff like that. And that's the way I grew up. So yeah.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
OTB.
Don't shoot. Oh, he dinged it. Oh! It's a goal! It's a goal! 6-1. What a goal! Oh, no! 15 seconds left. That is amazing.
OTB live commentary. Never miss the action right here on OTB Sports Radio. Keep up to date with the latest scores on the OTB Sports app. The OTB Sports app. Live score updates straight to your phone.
Sean, what's that thing going round the garden?
That is our new Husqvarna Auto Mower.
Auto mower?
Yeah, it's a robotic lawnmower from Husqvarna. Cuts the grass automatically, has GPS tracking and an app. Even works in the rain. I just thought, why spend time cutting grass when I could spend it with the family?
Great! You can put the dinner on, so...
No can do, love. Have to paint the man cave.
Husqvarna Auto Mower. Never mow again. Learn more at husqvarna.ie.
OTB AM.
With Gillette, put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
All right, 11 minutes past 8. By the way, you saw Golf Weekly in the ad break there. It's available now on Patreon, where you're going to get a whole load of extras included from major watch-alongs, member-only Discord channels, and you can head over to otbsports.com/Golf Weekly to sign up for $3.99 a month. So go along and do that. Delighted to say at 12 minutes past 8 on this Friday morning, we're joined by co-host of the Tommy and Hector and Loretta podcast, Hector Ó. Good morning to you, Hector.
Morning, lads. How are you doing?
Flying, and thanks a million for taking the call. I mean, there is really, given your clobber, there is really only one place to start. Regular viewers will be well aware of your love for the main man. That is quite the jersey.
Yeah, this is part of it's not only a sporting statement, it's a political statement regarding the Trevor Giles Appreciation Society that I am the founding member, the chairman, the treasurer and the secretary of. I was on this show a couple of months ago when you went around the country putting the best sports people on a mountain etched into the famous Mount Rushmore. It was absolutely brilliant radio. I was only talking to a lad who was at the house the other day. We were going through the different counties. But I will not forget my decision to nominate Trevor Giles as the greatest Meath footballer of all time. And that is why today I am rocking the 1999. Look at that for a logo. Can you get in tight on that?
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely magnificent. So this is the fashion statement of the summer of 2021. This will be the jersey of 2021. We at the Trevor Giles Appreciation Society are now going to walk 10 kilometres from Navan out to Trevor's mother's house, where we're going to have a barbecue once a year. There's 17,452 members already involved, and we're going to have a big party at the back of Trevor's mother's house. We're going to have a Tex Mead barbecue, and we're going to just revel in the joys of the greatest footballer to ever play for Meath, Trevor Giles.
I can't get my head around, because the jersey is supposed to be so organic, and that there's almost something of the Scientology about it, Hector. I'm not sure exactly what category it falls into.
It looks like something. It looks like something Mean the Merciless would wear. You see the little. There's a Crystal Carrington out of Falcon Crest.
That's true.
Look at it's like a runway shooting off the side.
You just need a bit of a shoulder pad.
Isn't it a beauty? It is a beauty,
to be fair. And yeah, absolute parlour. Come here, one of your other passions and we want to talk to you about sort of re-emerging from hibernation in a moment, but we better ask you a bit about United as well, obviously, given events last night that, geez, they blow so hot and cold from game to game, and blow hot and cold within games, it turns out, quite a bit as well. But I mean, they're pretty much in the final at this stage. What's your sense? We were having a good debrief on Arsenal earlier, and impossible to think there's anything too positive on the horizon for Arsenal anytime soon, but very different story for United at the minute.
I mean, it was goals galore last night. I treated the lads, it's a great morning when the boys are back at school, and yesterday evening at about 5 o'clock I said to them, we're going to get a bucket of chicken. So we headed into the local KFC drive-thru. We got 32 pieces of chicken between us, and we came back and we watched Man United. It was a perfect Thursday evening. Wasn't a perfect start to go 1-0 up, but then to score 2. But you always felt with Roma, like they're waddling around in mid-table or just above mid-table. They're leaking a lot of goals. I didn't expect it to be 6-2 at the end of it, but it's amazing the way Man United come good in the second half. it was a great performance. Pogba had to step up after that silly whatever he did with the hands. But I know Cavani was brilliant last night. But for me, Fred is doing so much small donkey work there in the middle of the park. But Luke Shaw, for me, is vying for Player of the Year at Manchester United and probably Player of the Year in England at the moment. His movement, his passing, his speed, his strength has really catapulted the whole team every single week since the Premier League started this season, and in all his performances. I think Luke Shaw has turned himself inside out, and to me, he's the best player on the pitch for Man United. Yes, Fernandes is going well. Yes, Pogba is back being happy. Marcus Rashford looks like he's sulking a little bit at the moment, whether that foot is fully healed or whether he liked playing out on the wing on the other side he did last night. But Luke Shaw, to me, at the moment, is just the catalyst for Man United's performances, which it's great. Look, we've one foot in the final now, so let's hope we can do the job.
I think you can safely say they're both feet are in it. We had Gareth Roberts from the Anfield Wrap on the show last week, and he was talking when all the European Super League stuff was blown up, and he was talking about watching Liverpool and how he wasn't sure, actually. He felt a slight disconnect watching them in a way that I think hadn't been the case previously. Do you think, have you felt, or do you think that all of that stuff, that really public, overt display of greed from the owners of the clubs is going to cause a chasm between fans and their clubs now? I think from my part, I think the Glazer thing is always a sore point in this house. One of my friends, Phil from Kildare, who was working for Live Nation, running a venue in Manchester called the Apollo for years, when we used to go up to Manchester on a Thursday or a Friday night to get a gig in the Manchester Apollo, and then we'd head to the match on Saturday and then down the Curry Mile after it. But he was one of the founding members of FC United. FC United is probably 15 or 16 years since that happened. People said this was the ruination of Man United. Those fans that left Man United to form FC United were castigated, were shunned, were saying they're not real Man United fans. How dare they? How dare they break away from Old Trafford and start their own football club? And to be at an FC United match back in those days, it was friendly, affordable family football. I went to an AFC Wimbledon match one Saturday afternoon. Fans from FC United were put up in the local area if they couldn't get lodgings. The atmosphere around the ground in London that August, it was a pre-season game, was fantastic. There was comedy that night in a couple of the pubs. It was just friendly, affordable family football owned and run by the fans. And as I say, those Man United fans, people laughed at them. What are you doing breaking away from Manchester United? So it's gone full circle. It went full circle 2 weeks ago. Were they right to do what they did? They are still angry with the Glazers, and now the whole world is angry with the owners of their clubs. So maybe what goes around comes around. And the sentiment regarding the Glazers, for me, I'm a member of the MUFC, the Independent Supporters Trust, is still the same. We want the Glazers out, and we want football given back to the fans. And it was an earthquake to world football, club football last week, but maybe it was the little jolt and the kick up the arse that we needed. And I blame FIFA as well, and I blame anyone for letting all these biscuit tin billionaires coming in. Anyone who's $1 billion to spare can buy a club just for the sake of it, and that's not the way football should be. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with that over the next little bit. Come here, we've been obviously on our lockdown for the last 13 months, whatever it's been. I don't know if you felt it, but certainly over the last week or two, it's felt like we are, as a nation, one by one, slowly emerging from this thing, a little bit like sort of coming out from hibernation, poking the head out, having a little bit look around, bit of a wink at the neighbour, and everybody's starting to feel, even pre the Taoiseach speech last night, it feels like everybody's starting to breathe a bit more now.
Yeah, look, it's a great morning when I can look out the window in Galway. The sun is shining and my two boys headed off to school. For the first time in 4 months as a father of two teenage boys, a 15 and a 6-year-old, 2 Sunday nights ago, I said to the lads, right lads, bed early. And there was no retaliation. They couldn't retaliate with anything. They had to go to bed early. So for them to go off to school today, for the sun to be shining, for us to feel like we're getting a slowly little bit back on track with 1 million doses or whatever of the vaccination, the valve is being released in so many ways. Hairdressers of the country, I haven't had a haircut since October or November last year. Look, a scarecrow, it's just gone completely bonkers. But we're back in little ways. I mean, this week we got back training with the GAA. And first of all, the most important thing for any teenager, I think teenagers, I've said this before, teenagers are lost in this second lockdown. For any teenager to get back playing sport of whatever it is. And we need to make sure that all sports are catered for here. The GAA is important. Yes, it's important in every parish, but so show jumping and table tennis and kung fu and judo and badminton and all the million other activities that teenagers do in this country. So we need to make sure that all teenagers are back playing whatever sport they're playing, because the GAA isn't the be all and end all. But to see the lads that I'm training under 17 going looking for footballs at about 6:45 last Tuesday afternoon on the pitch in Clare Galway, and to hear the interaction, to see some of them trying to kick it from 50 yards over the bar, some of them who haven't been practicing in lockdown, and to see it going sky high and hitting the corner flag. It was just great to hear that, the laughter, the banter and the camaraderie between a group of 17-year-old boys and 16-year-old lads who hadn't seen each other for months.
Yeah, it's incredible really, and I wonder, have you any thoughts about the long term? We the Minister for Sport on with us a couple of weeks ago, and we were asking him about the decisions that get made around this stuff, and if they had any advisor on that group who's an expert in the field of kids' mental health, and he accepted that they hadn't. And everybody wonders about the long term, particularly given the age of your kids, and how life would have been very different for them over the last year. That sort of stuff that we took for granted. But any long term impact of this?
Of course, there's going to be impact on children and teenagers that especially let's think of first years. Let's think of that really important bridge for a young boy or a young girl coming from 6th class, going into a big school, going into the big school. And not only have they missed 8 months of that first year, they've missed the chance to form new friendships with children and teenagers from other schools. And that's what happens in first year. And the way you form those relationships is on the back of the bus representing the first year team, or out in the playground playing a bit of five-a-side soccer, or whatever you're doing. So all those little building blocks, and that is what first year is when you go to a big school. You become friends with kids from other parishes, and they're the new friends that you make. And it's really important for a first year to get off to a good start and to enjoy first year, because they've got that journey through secondary school. I am sure that all over the country, teachers are spotting little signs in schools where lads and girls have regressed, completely regressed, because they haven't had that banter, they haven't had the social outlet, they haven't made those friends, they haven't made those friendships, and they're wearing masks. So I hope, and all the stuff that goes with that. So it's not an easy job for teachers there. It's not an easy job for students to be back in a situation where it's so strange, because we became accustomed to being in lockdown. And that is an unbelievable thing to say, that we became accustomed to the way of life that we've been living for the last 12 months in this country. So we need to go slowly. And I hope that there's a lot of fun now in the next 6 to 8 weeks in school, or whatever it is, 7 weeks, 5 weeks, and that slowly but surely we get the young people of the country back on track. And one of those ways is by making sure that every activity and sporting thing for teenagers is open and lifted, and that they can go outdoors and enjoy feeling good, trying to get fit, learning new skills, but most of all, having fun with their friends, because that's what sport's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there some of the lads coming back to training, Hector, the other night, kicking ball 100 yards wide of the post. What about you coming back, coaching a team? Have you been reading Alex Ferguson? Have you been reading Sun Tzu in the off-season, trying to upskill yourself as a coach? Yeah,
there was a lot of solitary moments. There was a lot of pondering on where I can develop my skills. The area I'm moving into now, Eoin, is that I want to move into the mindset of these young lads. I want to make them understand that it's a cohesive team thing. That if the ball is won by a hand in at the cornerback, or the halfback makes a slap tackle, and that ball is won and transitioned up the pitch, and then there's a lovely score, that the ball was won at the back by the defenders. The defenders get no glory. But I want to make sure that we all work as a team, and that there's no one superstar on that team. And if I can get them thinking like that, also that if we go 2 points down or 3 points down, or things happen, if a forward misses a score, there's always the next chance. If a defender or a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it seems that the feeling lingers a little bit more on the sideline. So as a coach, and with the fellow coaches that I'm with, I just want people to understand that. And I want those lads on the pitch to understand that mistake is done, move on, next ball, and stuff like that. So I wanted to bring them off. In a perfect world, I'd bring them off to Patrick at 5 o'clock in the morning for a sunrise and get them all up on the top, and we'd have a bit of food or whatever, and we'd sit and we'd talk. I want to hear the banter from these young lads. 16, 17 is a great age, although now they're not playing minor till under 19. They've changed all that. So in theory, a 16-year-old is not going to be playing minor. He's having 2 years running up to minor because that's the way they've changed it. But I'm into the mental side of it. If the players are happy, and if these young lads are happy playing football, then they'll express themselves an awful lot more. And when they express themselves, Gaelic football is a beautiful art.
You'd like to think then that there will be a little bit of a shift at certain age groups when it comes to Gaelic games as well, that there is a greater appreciation of that you're looking after young lads, young girls, whatever it may be, to actually improve themselves, to enjoy themselves, to be happier, rather than we need to go out and win the under-16 championship and we need to win it comprehensively.
Of course, so when you're under 12 and under 10 and under 14, fail is a big junction in any teenager's life in the Gaelic world. But yes, winning is important. It gets a little bit more important when you're moving into Division 1 and under 17 and minor and stuff like that, and the transition to an under 20 team or transition into a senior team. But I really feel that if we can develop them as positive young people, that when they're together, that camaraderie, that bond, that these are and they look to their right and look to their left, they're the two lads that will be in national school. There's my buddy who's in full back behind me. And I just love hearing laughter on the pitch. I love seeing them enjoy the drills, or not even drills, but the training session. And when they come up and say thanks after it, and they're still saying thanks at 16, 17, if you have manners and respect going through any part of your career, in sporting or in work or whatever, if you have manners, it gets you an awful long way. And it still is a lovely thing when a 16-year-old or 17-year-old comes up after the session and says thanks, because we're all doing it for the love of the game. We're all there as volunteers. The thousands of people on the sideline and coaching and helping out with teams, we're there because we love it and we think it will benefit the people in our parish, in our club. So when they say thank you, it's just, I'll climb Patrick 20 times a day if I get that thank you at the end of a session and they've enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's lovely. And if they're saying thank you, it obviously means that you're doing a decent job as well. You're mad about it, obviously. Are you, when those lads pass out through the age grades, are you going to keep at it, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was talking to one of the coaches the other day, Fozzie, who's the manager of the team, and we were there going, for us to be a successful juvenile coach and to be with this bunch since they were 9 and 10 years of age, we have 12 of the team that won the under-16 championship in Galway last year. They're on the minor panel training, and they've been training on Zoom for the last 4 months. But how many of them lads will transition to the senior club at Clare Galway? So it will start dwindling now as we get forward, and that's what happens geographically speaking, university speaking, wherever or circumstances change. So it's our job to try and make sure that maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 3, maybe 6, we don't know how many will filter to the senior club. And then as a juvenile coach, we've done what we've done. But there's, I think juvenile football and hurling and camogie all over the country, boys and girls, is in a really, really positive place. The uptake is huge, and there's so many. I mean, I saw that return to play statistics that every day, every training session in every club all over the country last year, there was something like 12 million return to play forms filled out on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday and a Friday. 12 million times in the space of that training season for all juveniles. No temperature, no noise, your son is okay, your daughter's okay. It just shows you that the power that's there, that's harnessed within that, in the juvenile place of the GA. And sometimes we think the county and the All-Ireland is important. Yes, it is. But right back, skin it all back down to the parish and to the juveniles in the club, both boys and girls. And that's where the heart of the GA is. And I've said it before, that's where I'm happiest, standing on the sideline, watching young lads expressing themselves. And when I see them manipulating the ball off the left foot or the right foot and kicking a cool point, a really good point over the sweet spot, or kicking that torpedo pass 30 yards into chest and a lovely handoff and the ball's over the bar. Beautiful things like that. And as a Meath man, seeing a slap tackle happen, that really powerful slap, and you've dismantled the forward as he's going forward. So it's all those things, and I really love it. I love training football, and I was all right. I played Meath under 16. I got a run on the Meath minors once, but soccer was my game after that. But I think it's in the blood. You cannot explain the feeling when you're there coaching now with a team that's playing good football. It's a lovely thing.
I thought you were going to say that you'd want to be sat in the dugout there up at then such a power gap at Meads, and Sean Boylan left Hector that up at the top of Bruce Hill there, that you'd be sat in the dugout overseeing Meath at some point down the track. It's not.
My uncle was a selector. My uncle was a selector. My uncle was a selector. Tony Craven was a selector with Sean Boylan way back in the early days. So there's a big passionate Navan O'Mahony side of all the family, and they're all big Meath men, Meath supporters back there. So I've transferred that down here. Claregalway is a very large catchment area. I mean, there's 1,400 new students in a 6-year-old school, a new school in Claregalway. And it is the new Jarlets of Connacht, where they've won Connacht Days, first year, second year, Connacht Junior titles. They were beaten in an All-Ireland semi-final last year by St Brendan's and Killarney. So they've got the best of Currafin, the best of Annadown, the best of Claregalway coming in. So you have a catchment area of about 16 national schools coming into one new school here in Claregalway. So it's good for us as a club. I think we've 800 or 900 juvenile members, and I think it's officially the biggest juvenile club in Connacht. And that's phenomenal numbers when you get to the car park of the club on a Tuesday and you see the amount of cars coming in. But it's great when you look out and you see the 5-year-olds and the 6-year-olds and the 7-year-olds, both boys and girls. And that's an amazing conveyor belt. And we're very lucky in a big club, because I know there are smaller clubs around the country that don't have them numbers, that when they put out an under-16 team, they will take 2 of the 14-year-olds. And then they're struggling physically wise and size wise. So it's not all big numbers in every club, but there's some brilliant work being done in all the small clubs and parishes around the country.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we want to touch on before we wrap. One of them is to mention that if people want to hear more of this, just head along to the Tommy, Hector and Narita podcast, where they can get their weekly fill, and they can now pay for their extra weekly fill on the Monday as well. So head along and check that out. I'm an avid listener, Hector, and I get all sorts of looks when I'm out for my weekly listen, and I'm cracking myself laughing walking around. I'm sure you get plenty of comments and people telling you that as well, that you get lots of odd looks from the laughs that come out, and your own storytelling capacity on it is second to none. Really outstanding. So
thanks. I just think it's good for people to smile if we capture your ear. Wherever they're listening, I just like the idea that somebody in Melbourne or in Vancouver or in anywhere around the world, and they're missing home at the moment, and even at home here, but if somebody puts on the headphones and has a little bit of a laugh and enjoys a few of the stories. I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself. I'm in a garden shed with Larita, who's so proud, pure, knock more to the bone, County Mayo. But to be in the shed with Tommy, who I met as a 12-year-old when we walked into St. Pat's, and we sat beside each other. And there you go. That's the first year we were talking about back at the start of the conversation. I forged new friends with lads from other schools in Navan. Tommy was from St. Oliver Plunkett's. I was from the Scullmurray, the brothers, different sides of the River Boyne, the Blackwater. So we came together in first year, and we made that bond, and that bond is still there 30, 40 years later, which is incredible. And that we're still... It's the same feeling I had in first year with Tommy, and second year and third year, when the level of messing and crack we had, he just makes me feel very giddy, like I was down the back of geography with him, or history or biology. And it's just
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
it's good. Laughter is good. And when you get that belly laughter where you're nearly crying, everybody needs that. We all need to feel the way we did in first year, second year. Get that laughter going, and laughter is a powerful thing.
It's a regular on the podcast. You have a new TV series coming out in TG Carr?
Yeah, I for the first time in 20 years, I've been grounded. We haven't been able to travel. We cut last year's series short. So myself and Evan and Roscoe, the same team, decided to put a shout out. I put a shout out on Facebook to ask, where are the people from all over the world who now call Ireland their home? So for the month of March, I was very lucky that we got out and did some essential filming, and I filmed 38 different nationalities of people from all over the world, from Siberia to Argentina, from the Alaska to Ethiopia, from the Congo to France, everywhere, all over the country, of people who love Ireland, who all have a different story to tell, and who just gave us a little slice of their story and how they've got here, where they are, and how they found love, and how they found work, and how they started a business. I have to tell you a quick story about the Finn Harps guy. This lad, he won the Under-17 World Cup with Finn Harps, and won the Under-17 World Cup with Nigeria, playing with Kanu and JJ Okocha. And he was looking for a team. He went to Real Oviedo for a trial in Spain. The manager didn't work out, so he's back in Nigeria. He's just turned 19, won the World Cup, really good centre-back. So he's sending off these CVs and sending VHS videos. Finn Harps responded. So he flew to Ireland and he arrived at Dublin Airport. And nobody came to meet him. We said it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Nobody came to meet him, and he was sitting at the airport with one phone number. And he rang the number. Your man goes, "Is that you? Are you there? Yeah, just hang on a second. I think we've got a friend." So a friend of mine's at the airport. Just hang on there. So he got a cup of tea. He's in a new country. He doesn't even know where Finn Harps is. And then all of a sudden, this lad came along in a pair of painting overalls and a load of paint on his hand. He says, "How's it going? Are you going to Finn Harps?" He says, I'm the chairman of the club. Up into the van here." 4 hours later, they brought him up to Ballybuffet. And 22 years later, he's still involved with Finn Harps. So it's a great story. And it's stories like that that'll just make us appreciate this great country that we have. But where else would you get it in the world where nobody arrived to meet this under-17 African World Cup winner? And he was thrown into the back of the painting van, and they headed to Ballybuffet.
Yeah, no question about it. Really looking forward to seeing that, I must say, on TG Car upcoming. And one thing before we let you away, I know you wanted to mention as well, very special cycle on Sunday for Emer Murray, Boardsmill GA Club, and it's all taking place this Sunday. Hector, you wanted to mention that, I know.
Yeah, Emer is in a she was playing top football last year, and it's a really good fundraiser that's on, and she's in a difficult place at the moment, but we're trying to do as best we can for her. And more details around the Emer, I think, I'm not sure of the page, but you're going to put the page up there.
On screen
but
there,
it's just a really good thing getting behind there, and we're going to try to raise some really good funds on Sunday. So I know people can send in donations. She's a proud football player. I know she was playing the final last year, and then this tragic event struck, but we're all behind her, and we want to raise as much as we can for her as well. So we're all thinking of Emer and her family up in Boardsmill.
Brilliant. I'm going to give the details of that here now. Just one second. Hector, you've been brilliant with your time. Keep up the great work. We'll catch up with you again.
Guramila Margie, don't forget the Trevor Giles Appreciation Society, the greatest football player to ever play for Meath. You can contact us on trevorgilesappreciationsociety.org.eu.county Meath.
There we have you and him up on the screen there. Those sleeves are still freaking me out a bit. Come on, Hector, take it easy.
On the Royals.
Right now to leave it on. Hector Ó, God, thanks a million for that. And a reminder, by the way, that fundraiser is taking place in Meath for Emer Murray of Boardsmill. It's on Sunday coming, and it's a static cycle from Mizenhead to Mallinhead, from 3 different locations in Meath, and they're all going to do it to raise money to help the costs of Emer's treatment. And last September, as Hector mentioned, Emer played for Boardsmill in the ladies junior football championship final against Dunamore Ashburn, but within a month her life was turned upside down when she was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So you can, very worthy cause, and you can head along. You can see the details on your screen there to donate. You can share the page as well. Just search GoFundMe with the words Cycle for Emer, EIMEAR. So that's the details on that. It's 8:37. It's Friday's OTB AM, live in association with Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. Plenty still to come. First up, here's what's coming up on OTB for the weekend. Tomorrow from 1 o'clock it's going to be a very special Kilkenny Legends Saturday panel with 3 of the team who obviously went in that 4 in a row, and that'll be well worth checking out. Names escape me, but it's going to be brilliant. You can take my word for it. Snooker before 3 o'clock, and then the OTB Football Saturday chat with David Myler and Johnny Ward as always, and an interview as John speaks with the Republic of Ireland Women's National Team manager Vera Pauw. Sunday 1 o'clock it'll be Louise Galvin and Dan MacDonald on the Sunday paper review. We'll have live Champions Cup commentary of La Rochelle against Leinster. Neil Tracy and Bernard Jackman will bring us that, and Manchester United against Liverpool in the Premier League in the company of Stephen Doyle and Brian Kerr. So lots to come on all of that. Andy Mitten is going to join us before 9 this morning. First of all, yesterday we caught up with the Cork star Doireann O'Sullivan. Brilliant chat, and we're going to bring you that now.
OTB Sports Radio, live 24/7 on the OTB Sports app.
Different backgrounds. One association is the GPA's Return to Play event. It's been launched this week to mark the first season where all senior inter-county players are part of the one player association, following that merger of the GPA and the WGPA back in December. And to mark that launch, I'm delighted to say we're joined on the line by Cork's Doireann O'Sullivan. Good morning, Doireann.
Hi, how are you?
Flying, and thanks a million for taking the call. You're on to talk to us the GPA and WGPA marking the first season of all players being under the one umbrella. The merger happened obviously back in December, and you said at the time that there were pros and cons for it happening. What's the 5 monthly report?
Pros only. I'm going back on my word. Pros only. It's great to have the 4 codes. As you said, under the one umbrella. from our point of view, I think it was always the grass was always greener on the other side. You know, what are the lads getting and what are we missing out on? Whereas now we'll have to stop our complaining. We're all being treated the same, and the field, we've a level playing field to go off. So that's brilliant. I think the standards have been set by the GPA, and we're happy to be a part of it now going forward.
At a practical level, what does it mean? Is it a case that, like, you know, you can pull the agreements that the GPA have and you can go back to the LGFA or to the government and say, listen, we have what's happening here, we want equity, and that's the way it works? Or on a practical level, how is all that playing out?
Yeah, I suppose you do have a bit of pull there. As you said, this is what's happening on the men's side of things, so this is what should be happening from our side. Practically, I suppose it's helping our lives off the pitch. You know, we're basically full-time athletes. We've full-time jobs, we've relationships. So there's a lot going on outside of just sport. I think the GPA helps massively with that. I know a lot of girls have done online courses and webinars to do with, say, counselling, addiction, there's everything in terms of job seeking. So it's not just the on-field side of things. We can now avail of all of that. So I think it gives us life skills as well, and helps us, I suppose, make our lives easier and manage our time better so that we can be the best athletes we can on the field. So yeah, as you said, I do think we have a bit of kind of rope. We can pull a bit of rope, I suppose, in terms of what the lads are getting. We can now fight for as well.
Yeah, with the like in terms of the wider conversation with the Minister for Sport on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the government's commitment to women in sport. It was a policy priority, he said at the time, and it was a big part of that discussion that morning. This week there was a Dáil committee to discuss what they were going to do post the 20 by 20 campaign. And the disparity in government grants, obviously for male and female GA players, was brought up at that committee. You've been speaking about that for years. There's been a lot of chat about it. Have you any sense that those things that you've just mentioned there, in conjunction with, I mean, stuff like that committee or the 20 by 20 campaign, that those gaps are going to be addressed properly, like that the chat is going to stop and action is going to be, proper action is going to be taken?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I suppose we've come so far in that now we're talking about it and people are aware of it. So that was a huge step for us. But we are at that crossroads now that we actually need this talking to come into action. So yeah, we are hugely pushing for the government to give us, I suppose, that grant for, and the main one is travel expenses. I'm not underplaying how far we've come in terms of food after training, showers, all that. We're ticking all those boxes, but the travel expenses is the gaping hole. Like, I don't mind, I'm living in the city centre. I've 20-25 minutes to go to training. We have girls coming down from Dublin, Galway, Limerick, on a Terry and Clare O'Shea sitting to their car down in Allihies in Beara. And it's 2 hours and 40 minutes for those girls to come to training. So not only are they leaving work early, they're putting petrol into the car, and that costs money. And you shouldn't be out of pocket, I suppose, for representing your county at the highest level. And look, it is frustrating because we haven't done anything about it. The only thing we've probably done is increased awareness. But we are hugely urging for the government to back it. Just do it. Give us the grant, give us the money, and we really will benefit hugely from it. And it's not even for us. I'm 26, I suppose. I'm 9 years now playing inter-county football. I might never get travel expenses, but it's for the girls coming up that we can make ladies football more attractive, and that we can make it equal and get equality and be the same as the men representing at the highest level. So I suppose it's just creating that culture and making it a better place for young girls coming up. that they see what's ahead of them.
There's a sense, Doireann, sometimes that the coverage has got better, at least in the last couple of years. So you've been in the inter-county game for 9 years. Has that actually manifested itself when it comes to equality, to the things that actually really matter on your day-to-day life as an inter-county player? Has the pace upped itself over the last couple of years from your own experience?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the good side of it, I suppose. Even coverage you were speaking about there. So our first league game now is on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Friday the 21st. It's being televised. So obviously a lot more people will see it, be talking about it. And I'm, as I said, 9 years on the panel, and this will be my second time ever playing in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. So like, that's kind of mad to think, but it is going in the right direction. The coverage and exposure ladies football is getting is huge. And just in regards of other things like food after training, nutritionist, team doctor, team physio, showers, gear, like there was none of that when I started back in 2012. So we've come huge way, and it is just about bridging that gap and not to be talking about it. We really need to do something about I know I keep bringing it back to travel expenses, but that is the one at the moment that is staring us.
Has anything improved on that front, Doireann, since was it Finbars 2 years ago you were chatting to us about it? Mm-hmm. Has anything improved on that front since?
No, I think Mayo Ladies Football got a sponsorship that year for travel expenses. But no, like last year now, we were travelling by ourselves to inter-county games. So we travelled to Parnell Park, to Crow Park, all around the country. You were in a car by yourself. I was lucky enough I could go with my sister, Ciara, but all the girls were in the car by themselves. And our county board did cover some of that expense. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, going to training 3 nights a week, no. There's been no progress or improvement on that front, which I suppose is disappointing to see.
It's desperate, isn't it? Like, looking at some of the quotes from Gemma Bagley from that meeting during the week, and she was talking about that actually the funding from the government per head, because of so many more players playing the game now than from where it was even 15 years ago, is down significantly. Like, it's just incredible. And it's really a case, Doireann, is it that funding needs to come from the government to support you?
Yeah, our county board, our sponsors, I don't think that's the way it's going to be resolved. They're doing loads for us, but we do need government funding to support this and bring it ladies football to a new level. And as I said, make it more attractive for girls. Like, if you think of it, it's kind of a basic, really. You know, if you're going anywhere, you need to put petrol into your car, not to mind drive 2 hours, 40 minutes to play football. And that's one way. Like, so I do think that's the major one we need to close the gap on. Because, as I said, we've closed the gap in so many other areas, but that's the standout one.
And one of the stark things about it as well is that you're speaking from the standpoint of Cork, one of the most successful teams in recent years. Like, I'm not sure, do you speak to players from other counties, maybe players that aren't dining at the top table of the All-Ireland Championship, but maybe even within their own county boards, they're not getting the support as well, which would just compound the lack of government support?
That's it, yeah. Like ourselves, Cork, we're lucky enough to be and have been successful over the last couple of years. So we're getting stuff that other county teams aren't getting. Like, I know I was talking to girls from Kerry, they hadn't got new gear in 3 or 4 years, you know. They weren't getting hot meals after training. I think that has changed, but I know that we're on the top scale of things, which is kind of frightening to think, to be honest. Like, our nutritionist this year is Johnny Holland, and he's seeing it from both sides. He's the nutritionist on the Cork men's team, and he's now the nutritionist for the Cork ladies team. So it's interesting to see his perspective. You know, we're getting stuff now like protein and vitamin D and stuff, and he's just kind of surprised, I suppose, that we haven't been getting that all along. So it's interesting to see his perspective and to think that we're actually the lucky ones in terms of ladies football. I think probably ourselves, Dublin, Mayo, are lucky enough to have get the top tier stuff. But the likes of, you know, maybe a Division 4 team mightn't be as lucky as we are. So there's not only a gap between men and women, there's a gap within our own sport as well.
What was nutrition like before he came in then, if there was no protein or no vitamin D? Because obviously that seems like a rite of passage almost for every young lad who's 16 years of age at this stage almost.
Yeah. You don't bulk up or you don't get big now unless you have protein. So yeah, look, nutrition wasn't bad. We were getting hot meals after training. We did have a nutritionist with us before. So we'd have little workshops, little kind of seminars, I suppose, PowerPoints put together about what to eat pre-post training, how to fuel your body, and what worked best for you mightn't work well for other people. So it was kind of individual plans as well. But I suppose we have just taken it up a bit of a notch this year. And we've definitely put more money towards nutrition and getting those things that we wouldn't have had in previous years.
Yeah, so it's just really desperate, honestly, like that we've been having this with you, having this specific conversation, almost a repeat of it from 2 years ago, and you just hope upon hope. Like, I mean, it seems like I don't know what sort of a hope it feels like, given that people are using a lot of the right words with great regularity, and you just really want to see the action, I suppose, at this stage. So we'll keep watching, briefing it, and keep on asking the questions about it as well. The league obviously is back in a couple of weeks. You mentioned there yourself, back in training. It's Tipperary in 3 weeks, and then the Dubs the week after. So how's it been back in training and getting used to all that again?
Yeah, it's been brilliant, to be honest. We went back last week. I suppose the major thing was we, touch wood, had a successful week back in terms of injuries. You'd just be scared that we'd be trying to play catch up and that a spike in load might result in injuries. But we've been very fortunate now. Our management team were super, I suppose, aware of that and kind of eased us back into it. We're playing an AVB now this weekend, so that's something to look forward to. Our first kind of match in 2021. I don't know, will we make it to half time? But it's good just to be back, to see the girls, and to have that social interaction is a huge part of football and a huge part of why I play. I've made some unbelievable friends over the years, and just to be back having the crack at training. I think the first night we actually kind of got roared at and stuff, just to shut up and stop talking. Like we're all just delighted to see each other. And I suppose then we're hugely competitive people, so getting that kind of aggression back into it and not having to kind of force yourself to throw on the boots. You now have a structure to your week. You're training Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and you prepare accordingly. So yeah, it's really exciting to be back, and we're really lucky to be back.
Have you been able to do anything at all over the last few months, or has it just been a case of sort of keeping in contact in the WhatsApp groups, or like has there been a bit of I've just figured out a way that we can beat the Dubs? Like, is there any sort of, have you been able to plan at all?
I suppose our management team have used the time really well. We've done a lot, we've done as much as we can given the circumstances. Video analysis, one-on-one meetings, psychology talks, nutrition talks. So we have done, but to be honest now, we're absolutely sick of Zoom. And I also live with my strength and conditioning coach, and I live with another girl on the team. So I was lucky and unlucky, I suppose, in that way. I got away with nothing. But it was good because, like, there was days there more wanted to put on the boots. So, she was kind of watching our every move. So we went out to the farm out in Cork, and we did our running out there and stuff. But I was lucky to be in those circumstances. A lot of girls had to do it by themselves. which is lonely, and it does get monotonous and boring enough. But other than football now, I wasn't up to much. Back to school 6 weeks now, I think. So that's good. Get out of the house for a few hours every day.
Yeah, we can all suddenly empathise with those, even those among us that are not elite athletes. We can all empathise with that spirit. The Dubs position, obviously, in the going for the 5, is that help focus minds in a way at this time of the year? Like, does that even come up as a discussion point, or how you? I mean, you're not going into that detail yet in terms of how you're going to get past them, but does that help focus you at this stage?
It does. Look, Dublin are at the top and we're chasing them. I started off my football career with Cork and we were on the top, and it was Dublin and Monaghan, Kerry who were chasing us. So it's kind of exciting to be at the other side of it, in that we're so close, and it's small margins that will get us over the line. And I've no doubt we are going to get over the line. We've a hugely talented team. We've an extremely hard-working our management team behind us. We're all rowing and together and in the right direction. But yeah, look, Dublin are the top team at the moment, and it's up to us to close the gap and to catch them. They're at the top, I suppose, of the mountain. If you want, we're climbing it. Last year we were very close. We did a brilliant first half in Croke Park and kind of went back into ourselves a small bit in the second half. Dublin got louder and louder and built in confidence, and we were disappointed, I suppose, with how we reacted with that. We got a small bit quiet and nearly paid them too much respect in the second half. We let them play, which was disappointing, but I think we have learned an awful lot from that match. It was my first time ever watching back an All-Ireland final. I've never done it before. Any All-Ireland final we've lost, I've never watched it back, club or county, which is extremely immature, but I just hate it. But this year it was the first time we watched it back as a team, and we did learn an awful lot from it. The saying, you learn more from loss than you do victory, is very true. So hopefully we can implement that this year and improve.
Just a couple of things there. When you said they were getting louder and louder, is that a literal thing, as in like the volume, their shouting was getting louder?
Yeah, a literal thing. So we would always have a big emphasis on voice pressure, and it's true. If you're going through and someone's roaring at you, or they're telling you that they're coming out and they have you, like, it is actually a form of pressure on you. So I just found in the first half we were extremely loud, whether things were going well or someone did well, you were roaring them on or you were roaring encouragement. And like, we were our crowd that day. We didn't have, spectators in Croke Park. So we put a big emphasis on vocal pressure and trying to be as loud as we could, because it does come hand in hand. If you're loud, you're vocal, you're actually playing yourself into the game, and you're helping the girls around you as well. We had a rule that you talked to the girl to your right, left, in front and behind. They were your 4 and you minded your area. And I just found as soon as Dublin got that goal, we went very quiet, and Dublin did literally get louder and louder. And I don't know, it just seemed like we got a small bit scared and sat back a small bit, which is disappointing. But I do think it's not an excuse, but we are a very young team, and I think a bit of experience there just to steady the ship would have stood to us a lot that day. But everyone has another year now under their belt, so hopefully we can learn from that.
And then on the decision to watch the game back, I presume that was just management saying, we have to do this, we have to take some sort of learnings. But like, are you on a Zoom call watching it together? Do you do it in your own time? And what are the feelings?
We had to watch it back. It wasn't an option. So if it was an option, to be honest, I wouldn't have watched it back. It just, like in terms of 2021, I know that, or 2020, there was a lot of negatives from the year, but that was right up there for me. It was one of the worst days. It's not something you want to remember, so I wouldn't have watched it back if it was my choice. But yeah, we were sent the video link. It was divided up then into different clips, like attacking, defence, tackling, missed tackles, wides, kickouts, or offensive kickouts and defensive kickouts. So it's broken down, like the detail it's gone into is incredible. And then you're looking at your stats from GPS, and it's no surprise everyone's stats were down from the Galway game. Everyone's stats were pretty impressive in the first half, and distance, acceleration, deceleration, power plays, everything was down in the second half. And it's just frustrating because to kind of let yourself down, I suppose, on the biggest day of the calendar year in ladies football is not what you set out for in January. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but you look, as I said, we did learn a lot from it. And how you remember stuff and how things actually played out are two different things. Like some girls might have come away and thought they had a great game, and vice versa. Like some girls thought they were shocking, and it mightn't have panned out like that, So I do think it's important. And maybe I'm maturing a small bit in that I can say I've watched back in All Ireland now.
Yeah. Well, after 9 years, we all pick up something to learn, that's the thing, and plenty more years ahead. Listen, really brilliant catching up with you. Thanks a million for joining us. It's all part of different backgrounds, one association with Doireann O'Sullivan from Kerry, Dan Morrissey from Limerick, and Sarah Dervan from Galway, all part of the GPA's return to play event to mark the first season. We're all senior inter-county players, are part of the One Player Association following that merger of the GPA and WGPA back in December. Doireann, thanks a million for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
OTB AM.
Great stuff there from Doireann O'Sullivan yesterday. It is 9:05 on this Friday morning, and just to let you know that the OTB Sports app is the best place to listen to this show, OTB AM, and also everything we broadcast on OTB Sports Radio across the day. So from 1:30 this afternoon, we've got the Paddy Power half hour. From 3 o'clock, it is Friday Night Racing, and then from 4 o'clock, there is a Team 33 League of Ireland Legends interview with none other than Pat Fenlon. And then from 6 o'clock, it is OTB Gold's Keith Andrews meeting Philly McMahon. Then as ever, on the radio tonight from 7 o'clock, OTB is live, and the latest episode of Team 33 is also on the radio from 9 o'clock. You can search for OTB Sports and download it for free right now in your app store. Click the radio tab and bring OTB with you all day long. Right at 9:02 this morning, delighted to welcome Andy Mitten to the show. Good morning to you, Andy.
Good morning.
Surely now this is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's semi-final hoodoo put to bed.
Surely, I agree. I think if Manchester United don't reach the final in Gdansk, then I wouldn't say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be sacked, but he's in such a strong position now to score 6 in a European semi-final for the first time since Real Madrid in 1964, I think. Is incredible, and the second half performance from Manchester United was stunning. And when those world-class players who aren't always as consistent as they should be, when they click together, they destroyed Roma, and it was a joy to watch. And I don't think United played that badly in the first half, but Roma took 2 chances, and United's defending was not good. And you had the scoreline at 2-1 at half time. But yeah, to go to Rome, I was never uneasy about Manchester United going to Rome regardless of the scoreline if it was a draw, because in the Europa League this season, United have drawn the home matches and won away in Italy, in Turin against Real Sociedad, in Granada, in Milan, and Roma are the 7th best team in Serie A so far this season. This isn't like United would be going to one of the best teams in the world, but they destroyed Roma in the second half, and really convincing, absolutely what was needed. And I'm just looking at flights to Gdansk right now.
It's amazing how good this Manchester United team are when the handbrake comes off and things come together. So in 302 games, including Moyes and Mourinho, United scored 5+ goals in a game twice. In 144 games under Solskjaer, it has now happened 9 times. Why is that, Andy? Is it confidence? Is it the players all coming together and there's just been a perfect marriage of things more often under Solskjaer? What do you put those statistics down to?
Firstly, that statistic I think comes from Steve Bartram, so he should get the credit for that, because he started out as a young journalist at United We Stand, working in our front room in Urmston, close to Old Trafford, when he was a young lad, and it's a brilliant statistic. And I think Ollie did something right from his very first game in December 18 at Cardiff away, when Manchester United hit 5 for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson had been in charge in in a league game, and it hasn't always been pretty under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's been a lot of bumps along the way. There's been some bad defeats, but he's getting a consistency now. Manchester United have lost very few games this season. They've drawn too many in the league. I'm not going to pretend it's a vintage United side yet, nor that they're at Manchester City's level yet, but he's continuing to improve the team. And if he gets the signings he wants in the summer, then I think United will continue to improve. What helps with the goal scoring? Well, his attack continues to mature, so Marcus Rashford is a better player as he gets older. Mason Greenwood's coming on. He's not been prolific this season, but I think he's played really well. And then Edinson Cavani is a world-class striker. He has been wherever he's been. I was surprised that PSG let him go. A French journalist last night who's been around for a long time, very well respected in France, he just messaged me and said they really miss him in Paris and they're frightened of saying it. And you can see why. He's had a pretty difficult time at Old Trafford, but it's coming good for him. These last few months, he's showing the player that he is. He said last month that he didn't want to stay when he met Ed Woodward in a one-to-one meeting in London. But I'm sensing now, and I speak to people in Uruguay, and I know people who know him very well, that decision might not be as set in stone as it would have been. I mean, he's got to stay. And Manchester, it will be a much better place to live, given the COVID rates have come right down, the success of the vaccinations. And if he can play at Old Trafford, and I asked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about this after the game last night, in front of a crowd, at his age, I'm sure he'd absolutely love it. And he's still got the quality to combine with the other top quality United players to come up with the performances like he did against Roma. 2 goals, 2 incredible assists, incredible. And it's just a joy to watch. So I think Ole Gunnar, he can be cautious, but when he lets his team attack, they can enjoy the type of performances that we saw against Roma.
The Cavani situation is going to be fascinating, and like it is interesting that things have started to change on that front quite a bit. Like the ideal scenario, I presume, for Manchester United is that Cavani isn't relied upon as much as he was this season, that he still plays the big games, he can still be part of 2 up front, but Manchester United maybe need to bolster in that number 9 position regardless of whether or not Cavani is at the club next season.
United need a centre forward, and I don't think the team have relied on him this season at all. Up until a month ago, he'd only started 7 league games. So he'd missed a lot of football, he had COVID, he was suspended for replying to one of his friends on Instagram, and that really upset him that he was charged with that, because he felt that people were accusing him of being a racist, and he's absolutely not. If that was a term of endearment towards a friend. And he was living in Manchester away from his family. It's not sunny every day in Manchester in the winter. He was confined to his home. Life was a bit of a challenge for him. I'm saying this is a first world problem. People have had much bigger challenges at the moment. But United need a centre forward. Anthony Martial has had a very poor season. And there's not that natural centre forward that Cavani is, that offers something different, that can lead the line. And he was told ahead of the game last night, make the runs which stretch the defence, make the runs behind. If Chris Smalling goes to mark Paul Pogba, which he'll be reluctant to do, be reluctant to get too close to him, and Cavani just exploited that. Absolutely need a centre forward next season. The great Manchester United teams have all had great centre forwards, and Cavani's goals per minute ratio is far better than anybody else's at United this season. He's just not played enough. But as Ole Gunnar said after the game, he's getting fit now. You're seeing the player that United fans hoped he would have been, because I was writing about him a couple of months ago and saying that he's looking more like a Falcao signing. Great player, but it's just not working out for him. And I welcomed his signing. And when he signed, I spoke to lots of people in Uruguay. I know people who know him very, very well. And they would have told me off the record, he's finished. And none of them did. They said, he's absolutely still got it. And that's been the message I've been getting consistently, from the impact he has on others in training, the influence on others. And he can't even speak English. So he must be doing a lot right.
Yeah, it was incredible. It feels unthinkable almost at this stage that Cavani would leave Manchester United given the impact that he's had. And I mean, you could write him off given his age and all that kind of thing, but you watch him in action last night and I mean, maybe he is going to be managed in terms of game time. Maybe he doesn't end up playing against Liverpool this weekend, and but you think that there's got to be space for him. Been talking about it over the last few weeks, even if they were to bring in the likes of Erling Haaland, but we'll watch that with interest. We are talking to Andy Mitten of United We Stand. Andy, on the TV coverage here last night, Damien Delaney was on Virgin Media and he was talking about pre-game now, admittedly, that United aren't entertaining to watch, as he put it last night. He said their style is very simple to unpick. As I said, that was all very much pre-game. I don't know that what happened on the pitch necessarily backed up what he said, but would you take on that point? Is there anything in it?
I think if the style's so easy to unpick, some of the world's greatest managers would have unpicked it. People like Pep Guardiola, when Manchester City played against Manchester United at home recently. I forget the result of that game. PSG earlier on this season, PSG in March 2019. Look, I'm not going to pretend this is a vintage United side yet. It's still short of a couple of players. There are times, such as Leeds at the weekend, when it wasn't thrilling. However, there were months under Sir Alex Ferguson when United didn't thrill. Sometimes it's just about getting results. And United are not at City's level yet, and they're not at the level of previous United sides, but they're improving. They're probably going to finish 10 points more in the league this season than they had last season, looking like a second place finish. How many Manchester United fans watching this would have predicted the team to finish second this season at the start of the year? I don't know anyone who would have done. Liverpool and Manchester City was seen as being so far ahead. And there'll be no parade around Manchester for finishing second. It's still Manchester United. But if the team were to finish second, to get 10 more points than last season, to win the Europa League, I think you've got to say that would be a successful season for this season, not forever, because Manchester United should be winning the Champions League or competing in the Champions League, not getting knocked out in the group stage. But I am convinced that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing a good job. There will be setbacks, of course. There's football, and people tend to wear rose-tinted spectacles when they remember past glories, past teams, even past players. I've seen players who were absolutely slaughtered at United, and now when you ask fans about them, oh, it was great him. I remember when he did this. I remember when he did that. United have lost 4 league games this season, drawn too many matches. There's been some poor matches in the league. Crystal Palace last month. But look at the wins. United scored 6 at home against Leeds United, 5 against RB, 6 against Roma. And this Roma team are not PSG level. They're not Real Madrid level, but they're not a bad side. They've beaten good teams to get to the semi-final of a European competition, as have Manchester United. Beaten AC Milan, beaten Real Sociedad, beaten Granada. And I think it's just this gradual improvement. But the team has got to be strengthened further in the close season. Tactically, I thought Solskjaer got it perfect last night. And United fans were being critical of him at half-time. I'm sorry, he got it right. Playing Paul Pogba ahead of Mason Greenwood, playing him in the position that he did, Roma did not know how to counter him. Linking up with Luke Shaw, who's probably been the best player this season. And I think Solskjaer deserves credit for what he did tactically against Roma. He doesn't always get it right. I was frustrated at Leeds at the weekend when he left it so late to bring on substitutes. But I know people who are working inside that club every single day, and the intensity of this season has been like no other. There's been almost no let-up. I think last week was the first week when there was no game since November. And United have played so many matches, more than any other team in Europe in terms of the intensity of the matches. And I think they're making a good fist of it. We're now within the final month of the season, and Manchester United are in a decent position. I'd love United to be challenging for the Premier League. It frustrated me when the team fell away a bit in February. But this Manchester City team, with a brilliant manager in Guardiola, they're the best team at the moment. I mean, you've just got to accept that. And it's not always going to be the case. I just hope Solskjaer keeps on improving. He's doing a good job.
Paul Pogba in that position, as you mentioned last night, clearly worked in the context of last night, but it was so good that you start to think, why would Manchester United not continue to play him in this position for the foreseeable and have that link with Luke Shaw on the left?
Pogba is happier when he's playing in that role, and there's times when he's not been happy at Manchester United. I said 3 months ago that he's amenable to staying. He doesn't want to leave the club, and a couple of journalists in Italy said, no, he wants to leave, he absolutely wants to leave. I trust my sources. You know, I know people who know him pretty well and very well. And I don't think that they were lying to me. And situations can always change in football, but he cuts a much happier figure now than he has done. At the start of December, United fans wanted to see the back of him. They'd had enough of him. They thought he was a liability, but playing well, and United need players of his class in the team. He's a world-class player when he plays like that. Yeah, he can make mistakes. He can lose his head. I don't think you can blame him for that penalty in the first half last night. I think that was pretty harsh when he handballed it. I liked his line in humour afterwards when he said, you know, I was trying to tackle, I can't tackle. He doesn't try and win the fans over. I think he's just given up. I think he just accepts that some fans like him and some fans don't like him, and that there's always going to be this noise around him. But he's a top player. He's having a decent season now. And when he combines with other top players, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah. Liverpool at the weekend, Andy. I don't know, everything that you've been talking about there, it could be quite a tumultuous weekend for United fans. City potentially getting it done this weekend. What are you, are you expecting that to happen? And what's your expectations from the Liverpool game?
I've not really thought about City winning the league this weekend, sorry. I thought in February they've won it, it's done. Did I think 2 weeks ago, there's a little chance here? Of course I did, because football fans are irrational sometimes. I think there'll be a protest before the game against Liverpool from fans who are still angry about the whole Super League thing, with the owners pushing for a change in a better ownership model for English football. And then the small matter of Liverpool at home. It's not a huge game. Maybe more important for Liverpool, who are trying to get into that top four. I almost can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe how far United are ahead of Liverpool in the league. But Liverpool have not become a bad team. They just had very, very bad injuries this season, and maybe lost a bit of the confidence that they've had, maybe lost a bit of the swagger. I was in Madrid and watched them, and Real Madrid totally unpicked them in the first half, or rather Toni Kroos did. And I mean, that happens in football. I think that they've had a very bumpy season. When they came to Old Trafford, it was a really good win for United to knock them out of the FA Cup, but they've still got world-class players there, people like Salah. It surprised me how much they've dropped off this season. I mean, injuries are a major factor in that. They'd absolutely love to come to Old Trafford and batter United. But United have got to be winning these games. Liverpool and Manchester United are the two biggest teams in English football. They're the two biggest rivals. And I know the focus has moved towards other clubs who've been, City have been more successful this season. It all feels a little bit hollow because there'll be no fans there. When I think of United Liverpool, I think of the build-up in real life with people there, packed away end. And I just don't have that same level of enthusiasm for it when there's no fans there. But thankfully, it looks like it's going to be one of the last games where there is no fans at Old Trafford. And United Liverpool, everyone will be watching it.
Yeah, and we'll be keeping a close eye on to live commentary of it here and Off the Ball. Andy, thanks a million.
Thank you.
Andy Mitten there from United We Stand, reflecting last night, looking ahead as well to the weekend.
So people waking up this morning might maybe living in the afterglow of that brilliant Manchester United performance last night, or frustrated maybe by Arsenal. The big sporting news worldwide over the course of the night should have been the NFL draft, of course. A lot of revellers in Cleveland, who I'm extremely jealous of overnight, but their situation was completely spoiled by the big news before the first pick of the draft, which was Aaron Rodgers wanting out of Green Bay. This is like a bomb that was dropped on Twitter as I was kind of like doom scrolling before the kick-off in the Europa League last night. Adam Schefter, who is always ahead of these things, drops a bomb saying, reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers is so disgruntled with the Green Bay Packers that he has told some within the organisation that he does not want to return to the team. Then this starts another layer of different people coming online on Twitter and adding their own little take to the story or their own little sources. Trey Wingo said that the Packers reportedly told Rodgers that they were going to trade him in the off-season, then backed up. It's been a bleep show between them ever since, and within the last week, Rodgers told the team, trade or no trade, I'm not coming back. Buckle up, folks. And then later in the night, while we were all asleep at around 3 a.m. Irish time, Ian Rappaport tweeted saying, Green Bay hasn't engaged at all, despite a few teams calling about trading for Aaron Rodgers. The Packers have no plans to trade him, so nothing has changed. So naturally, this has just put a cloud over the entire NFL draft. Not necessarily a cloud of negativity, just a cloud of added intrigue, especially when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, who it is reported Aaron Rodgers would have been interested in going to. But it has also been heavily reported, and it is a fact that the Green Bay Packers do not want to trade him to not only the 49ers, but to any team in the NFL. You've had voices coming out from the Packers. Their GM has come out and said he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. We're excited about the kind of things we're going to try and accomplish here over the next couple of years. So they're at loggerheads and expect this one to go on for a hell of a long time. The 49ers did draft a quarterback last night, and I think the problem with Aaron Rodgers goes back to this day last year, really, when the Packers drafted a quarterback and he was not told about it, he was not overly happy about it, and in the meantime he had an MVP season. An MVP has never been traded from an NFL team, and an MVP has never failed to play for that same NFL team the following season unless they've retired. So this would be extraordinary, and since picking up that MVP crown, I think he's got engaged in the meantime. He's started his career as a television host on Jeopardy in the meantime. Maybe he's lining up a few other ducks, but we all know that when it comes to the NFL, there is nothing quite like it when it comes to an ongoing saga, a player at odds with their own franchise. This is already a saga. It's only, 12 hours old, but we can already frame it under saga. It does put a cloud over Trevor Lawrence, who's the first pick, goes to Jacksonville. It puts a cloud over Zach Wilson, who went to the New York Jets, and Trey Lance, who completed the top three. He's the guy who went to the 49ers. It is the first time since 1999 that three quarterbacks went as the first three picks in the NFL draft. So I'm not sure what that tells you about the situation, but the quarterback who was getting most of the attention was not any of those three. It was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Oh, and it is, of course, the anniversary. You don't think we would let the day go past without inviting our usual special guest at this time of the year to join us on the line. Brett Ramanda is not on the line.
Yeah. I knew, that was so, because it's like 9:22 a.m. now. Jojo in the box is like, what? We have a special guest coming up?
Everybody should spend their day reminding themselves of that beautiful clip and how life used to be.
It does come with a sense of PTSD, because I was scrolling through The Athletic the last day and I saw something about, remember the NFL Draft 2019? We spoke to those fans, drunken fans again. And I was like, what? But apparently we weren't. We were actually only the second viral story that week. There was actually a bachelorette party, as they would say, who were furious when they arrived at Nashville for their bachelorette party, when they found out after arriving that the NFL draft was in town. And there was a very grumpy bachelorette who was interviewed, and she was like, I watch football with my husband or my fiance every single Sunday, and I got to put up with this shit. And the thing exploded. So
I would think any bachelorette party or any bachelorette who arrives into town and there's like one of the greatest parties of the planet happening and is grumpy about it is, just stay at home. Don't leave the house.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
We'll have to get Brett Ramanda on next Tuesday.
He's changed job. He no longer works in Nashville.
Oh, couldn't he? He got a promotion on the back of your sort of milked your Vox Pop, and I'm that guy.
Moved to Texas, I think, yeah.
Enjoy the weekend on. We still have plenty to come. We've John Giles, we've Crappy Quiz, and later this morning we're going to hear from Robin Copeland as well on Friday's OTB AM. But up next, the Crappy Quiz.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
This is OTB Sports Radio.
For Brady in American football, it is incredibly specific and very, very few people get to hit him. He should be in an armchair ride. He runs on, he runs off. It's about having a really good arm. Rugby is multidiscipline. They call him a quarterback. That's lazy journalism in my view. Johnny is our best out half.
Off the Ball, Saturdays from 1 on OTB Sports Radio. Listen live on the OTB Sports app.
Sean, what's that thing going round the garden?
That is our new Husqvarna auto mower.
Auto mower?
Yeah, it's a robotic lawnmower from Husqvarna. Cuts the grass automatically, has GPS tracking and an app. Even works in the rain. I just thought, why spend time cutting grass when I could spend it with the family?
Great! You can put the dinner on, so...
No can do, love. Have to paint the man cave.
Husqvarna auto mower. Never mow again. Learn more at husqvarna.ie.
OTB AM.
With Gillette, put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
Chris Bond.
Oh, you're kidding me. September.
Kyle Lafferty.
Are you joking me?
Is that right?
I know, it's not right.
Anybody else?
Leash, was it?
Like, that is one of the most stupid questions.
Darius Vassell? Seriously, you all need to just stay quiet. This is getting really annoying doing this quiz.
What is going on here?
Welcome along to the shoutiest segment on Irish radio. It is the scintillating, it's the stupefying, it is the splendido crappy quiz. Every Friday we pit three of Team Off the Ball up against each other in a no-holds-barred quiz of sporting factoids at the end of the week. Allow me to welcome today's contestants. Our first contestant today blamed his boots when his club didn't win the championship last year. He blamed a government conspiracy when he didn't win the lotto last week, and blamed everyone but himself after his complete capitulation in last week's crappy quiz. There's no mirrors in the life of this man. It is the Meath hillbilly Tommy Rooney.
Hi folks, it's a new week going, so I'm hoping that there'll be a new crappy quiz, a new era for the crappy quiz this week, and
well, can I just put
there'll be no messing, no shenanigans, no blackguarding.
Hold up. Can I just put in? Eoin, what am I doing here? Has there been some disciplinary hearing that's gone on that I have been relegated to the Europa League of crappy quizzes? Am I being punished for the potential breakaway that I've been discussing to a new super quiz that may happen on a rival station? Is that what's happening? But I don't understand how suddenly I find myself with Barry and Rooney.
It is. But I guess you just haven't been available for the last few quizzes, and availability is the best skill you can have in this game, Nathan.
I listened to last week's quiz, and it was an absolute embarrassment.
On who?
Well, for both yourself and Ger Gilroy. Firstly, listen, as I said, Tommy, online, if you want me to get in touch with our HR department, I thought maybe that was the right thing to do for the clear bullying techniques that were happening from Ger Gilroy. But then I realised, actually, Tommy's it reminds me of my 2-year-old. The bitching and moaning and whining and woe is me, and I didn't get what I want, and I'm going to throw my toys out of the pram, but didn't really mean it. You knew Tommy was never going to walk off. He's threatening it. You know, I'm gone. I'm going to walk out that door and I'm never coming back. But he knows if he walks out that door, there's nothing there except just the abyss of dullness, and this is his only outlet for a bit of crack all week now that he's living down in Clare, and he needs this. So I all sympathy I had by the end was gone. Now, you were being bullied. There's no question about that. And you got to stand up for yourself, Tommy, on this quiz.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it was bullying. It was just so obvious what was going on. They're in cahoots, the two of them. They're in absolute cahoots.
Well, if you look around, Tommy, there's only been one person that's been booted off last week's quiz, and it is Ger, despite his win, which I would have said is a fair and square win. Nathan, everything you said there was absolutely spot on, so thank you for saying my bit. Our next contestant pushes the narrative that he's a massive golf nut, so it's been a big week for him. Instead of complaining about not being able to play golf, he is now going to spend all of his time on Patreon complaining about not having the time to play golf. Give it up for the beast of Ballyhaunis, Nathan Nate Dog Murphy.
Very true. Still open to offers for any expensive clubs in South Dublin that want to give me a free membership. Adrian Barry will come along as well for the ride. No shortage of promotion. You'll get at least 2 mentions on every crappy quiz. We can guarantee you it.
Who is the biggest freeloader when it comes to the OTB golf heads, Nathan?
Oh, Malloy.
Really?
I think you've just...
Malloy,
I think he's answered his own question there, Owen, to be fair.
No, Malloy. Malloy's just quieter and smarter about it, but Malloy, definitely.
Right. Wasn't there somebody who rang up a golf course and actually pitch themselves as somebody who could like do MC work or could actually bring their profile to the golf course?
There was, but he's not on this call, so we better not name him publicly.
He shall remain nameless.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Is that also is that libelous? Like, is the number of people that could potentially be below the certain number that we've now sort of?
You could just name him, and then
we've thrown shade basically on everybody who works with us.
It's not Joe, if anybody was thinking.
It's not Joe.
I don't know the story. I must.
All right, we'll tell you
afterwards. Okay.
Our last contestant today is back after a 1 week hiatus, so it's to the YouTube comments of 2 weeks ago we go to get today's intro. And Mr. Gooner for Life 93 says, if Adrian is part of the Europa League crappy quiz lineup, does that mean Tommy is Intertoto Cup standard? Well, Mr. Gooner for Life, time will tell. Give it up for Adrian. Who's your daddy, Barry?
There's nothing I know that annoys Tommy more than being lumped in with me when Nathan at the start there says, am I in with Barry and Rooney in the Europa League? I know internally Tommy's like, don't be lumping me in with that lad. And by the way, like I will say, Nathan's discussions about a breakaway super quiz, I mean, you know,
hey,
good luck at
I can see it happening.
Spoken. You'll be happy to come back
Open
to
to
tail between your legs next week.
Game on. Give me the call.
Spoken like a true Mayo man, I would say. Talking himself up before the end of the quiz.
Who would be in the breakaway, Nathan?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, we'd have to get Phil the power in.
I'd probably be there. I'd fill the Spurs role.
It'd just be John and Phil, and then the remaining place, I guess.
No, they'd be tapping up rival broadcasters.
No, sorry. The more I listen to it, we go on about Ger being Owen's favourite. John is Owen's favourite.
Why? He's been on the quiz twice.
Every question is, what was it? Who's the last rookie to win the Masters? Was an actual question on the quiz.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest sporting question there's ever been.
He's borderline flirting with him. Hey, John, looking really well today. Here's a question about golf. It's like, all right, maybe throw him a bit of a curveball there at any point.
Has Shane Lowry ever won the Open Championship?
Mm-hmm.
Look, lads,
great answer, John. Great answer.
Great. I love the way. I loved your pronunciation there, John.
As ever, the format is the classic crappy quiz with a series of questions on a range of themes. Then it's on to the slip and slide of trivia, which is the rapid fire round. Podcast of Crappy Quiz on otbsports.com or on the OTB Sports app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click the thumbs up, even if we contribute nothing but misery to your day. Round one is the boring questions round, never multiple choice. And a warm welcome to everybody who has skipped the intros to join us at this point. You're also very welcome to the Crappy Quiz. Question one for you, Tommy. Ryan Mason is the youngest manager to ever manage in the Premier League, but can you name the youngest manager to win the Premier League?
Ooh, I was nearly going to jump in with the wrong answer there, and thankfully I didn't.
What were you going to jump in with?
Well, I mean...
There's obviously... Is Jojo working today? No, this isn't my answer. This is not my answer, but I was going to jump in with
It's Stephen in the sound booth. He doesn't have as much of a trigger finger as Jojo.
I was going to jump in with Roberto Di Matteo, but obviously he only won the Champions League. The youngest manager to win the Premier League title.
Come on, Tommy.
Was it Jose in whatever year you won it first?
Final answer?
Jose Mourinho, yeah.
Correct. Jose Mourinho, 42 years of age in his first season. Nathan, question one for you. Ireland's heptathlon record was beaten last weekend by Kate O'Connor. Can you name the 7 events in the women's heptathlon?
100-metre hurdles.
Correct.
Long jump, high jump.
Correct. We're 3 in.
Javelin.
Correct. Over halfway there.
He's getting there.
What is the last one? Is that 800 metres or 1500 metres? So I still need 2 more.
No, you need 3 more.
3 more, yeah.
3 more.
Yeah. That's a tough start.
Three more. The 100-metre sprint?
No. We're close, though. There is a sprint in there, but it's a 200-metre sprint.
And is it 800 metres or 1,500 is the last one?
It's 1,800 metres. And then there's one other event.
Not 1,800 metres. It's definitely not 1,800 metres.
It's not 18.
What did I say? 1,800. No, sorry, 800. 800 metres is the final.
And what's the last one?
Shot put.
I didn't think that they'd shot put and javelin.
That was nasty.
Well, they do. At least you didn't
That's
really
fine.
hit the
Fine.
post.
Listen, we know the priority. Saved all those tough questions for this week.
Adrian, Leinster have won 5 Heineken Cup semi-finals against 4 different teams. Can you name each team they've beaten?
The only hope here is that he was so drunk in the corporate box for a couple of them that he can't remember who they were actually playing.
Give me a second.
Hey, no looking around.
Quick look around. Munster.
That's one. Here we go, down another odyssey of Adrian Barry trying to find the answer deep within himself.
How many are you looking for? 4.
Come on. We need to get a second one here pretty quickly, Adrian, if we're going to have any hope of finishing this quiz in time.
Something telling me that the Chiefs, this is not my answer, but that the Chiefs are one of them at some point. Did you say Jojo was on or not? I'm going to go with...
Jojo's doing the Europa League quiz.
Racing?
No, it's not Racing. He calls himself
one of them?
a Leinster fan. No, the Chiefs was not one of them either. Toulouse twice.
Toulouse was actually the next answer, yeah.
Clermont in 2012 rather, and then Scarlets in 2018. Toulouse was 2011 and 19, and Munster, as you say, was 2009. Wow.
Leinster super fan.
That is a lot of wine and cheese you can see consumed during all 5 of those.
It is. I was going to make this point. It sounds like sour grapes now, speaking of which, but like Tommy's question there versus the ones that me and Nathan got.
Round
Ludicrous.
2.
I doubt you would have got Jose Mourinho.
Well, it was either Mourinho or
it was a 1 in...
they were the only options.
It was like a 1 in 2 or 3 guess.
And you almost
said... I'll take... Do you know what? It wasn't a bad question to start off with. I'll take you. You guys had tougher questions.
Round 2 is the golf is back round. That's right, golf is back, so it's time to load those tee boxes and pack those function rooms. This round will test your knowledge on the golf courses of Ireland. Tommy, which Irish course did Bill Clinton name as his favourite golf course, famously playing it in 1998?
Bill? Where did Bill play?
I wasn't sure, was that an impression of somebody there for a period of time?
No. I feel like that was, you were kind of going for a Liam Brady on the panel.
Yeah.
Bill.
Are we talking?
Oh, we're not talking anything.
No, we're talking golf courses in
Ireland. Nothing.
All we're doing is...
are we talking...
No, we're not talking anything.
Are we talking the whole island of Ireland, or are we talking...
You just give your answer.
Tommy,
that's
you either know it or you don't.
26 split.
You either know it. It's one of those you either know or you don't.
Right, I'm going to go with the K Club.
It's not the K Club.
The Old Head, is it?
No.
Ballybunion?
It's Ballybunion, correct. Nathan, if Portmarnock has held the Irish Open the most amount of times, which course has held it the second most amount of times? That is a thinking face right there.
That really is some face, isn't it? And we're not even getting the school of knowledge here, which is incredible. This is really challenging.
For our radio listeners, all I can say is, I'm sorry.
Golf is a game with a small ball.
It's like what? Yeah, it's like a bench press.
Druids Glen is not the correct answer.
Mount Juliet.
No. It's Royal Dublin.
Oof. I was there and I kind of thought,
Adrian. Michael Jordan famously came to Ireland in 1999 and played a heap of different courses. Royal Dublin and Ballybunion were on the list. Can you name any of the other courses he played?
Larney.
Correct.
Right. I nearly correct that there. Because wasn't that what Donnie was talking about, yeah?
Where did Donnie meet him? Was it?
He was chasing him around.
Did he drive to Clarny?
He played a load of different places. He played Lahinch, Waterville, Tralee, Killarney, Ring of Kerry, Old Head, Fota, the European Club, Royal County Down, and Portrush. So 12 courses, I think, in 10 days.
Got a good question there.
Well, your one was pretty straightforward, Tommy. Let's face it, but your knowledge didn't extend to it. It's only easy when you know the answer.
This is big. This is Super League breakaway sort of bottling
just a minute quiz once.
Were you?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be enough time there to spill through your knowledge and that type of quiz.
Well, it gets rid of the nonsense on like this quiz, which it's maybe why it was so successful through the years. I won a pager.
Nice.
Remember when pagers were the next big thing?
Wasn't it?
I think I was in Leaving Cert.
What's
You're at
that?
some sort of schools exhibition. The Leaving Cert, Tommy, is an exam at the end of your schooling. But you don't know what? Have you never heard of a pager?
No.
So this was
like a Game Boy.
This was
is it?
was this pre-mobile phone?
Now? Oh,
this
is it like a Tamagotchi?
Have you not seen The Wire?
It was pre-mobile phone, as far as I remember. But it gave you a number. Was that it? I can't even remember how it works.
It did. It gave you a number.
Flash up a number that you had to call back.
Yeah, so it basically was a way of leaving a message, and then it got. I think the one I had was very advanced. That you could actually type. You could get some words typed in.
Characters.
So I think I used it 3 times ever.
I know.
I got to meet Larry.
Wow. All I can say is you're welcome to everybody.
Larry had no
story.
favoritism, which was again what made him a great quizmaster. He just went with the questions. The questions were the star of the show.
Unlike some contestants in this case. Round 3 is the footballers' tweets round. Once upon a time, footballers generally didn't employ a social media team to run their Twitter account. This round will test your knowledge on some of the classic moments from the Wild West of footballers running their own accounts. Tommy, on the 12th of February 2012, which footballer tweeted, "Whitney has passed away. R.I.P. You will live on forever. Can't believe it. I want to run to you. I really can't believe this." Was it A, Jermaine Pennant, B, Dean Windass, or C, Wayne Rooney?
Pennant.
No, it's not Pennant.
Rooney.
It's Rooney, yeah.
It's not Rooney, is it?
It is Rooney.
Rooney was who I thought.
I didn't. I had the Rio tweet in my head, so I just didn't think it would be Rooney. Oh Jesus, what a tweet!
Nathan, can you get off the mark? Yes. On the 5th of October 2013, which footballer tweeted, "Just ran over a rabbit, devastated"? Was it A, Michael Owen, B, Romelu Lukaku, or C, Phil Neville?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Oh. It's got to be Phil or Owen, doesn't it? Though Lukaku's a weird one to throw in the middle of those two. Michael Owen. Jojo's obviously definitely not on. Stephen, you're no good to us here. Phil Neville.
It's not Phil Neville.
Oh, wow.
Michael Owen.
It is Michael Owen.
Got it. Phil Neville written all over it, isn't it?
Michael Owen, the go to Twitter. Adrian,
I thought it was on. Yeah.
On the 12th of April 2012, which footballer tweeted, "People say you are what you eat. That's funny, because I don't remember eating a sexy beast this morning." Was it A, Tammy Abraham, B, Jack Grealish, or C, Marcus Rashford?
It's not Rashford anyway. Give me the quote again.
You're digging deep into the recesses here.
"People say you are what you eat. That's funny, because I don't remember eating a sexy beast this morning."
And this was what year?
2012.
So it's like 10 years ago. I mean, Tammy Abraham was about 10. And who was the other option?
You had Tammy Abraham, Jack Grealish, and Marcus Rashford.
Like, it's not like Jack Grealish to tweet something that he'd later regret in life.
Yeah, that's why I think he could be a bit of a curveball. Tommy. It's such an obvious answer. But I mean, I'm going to have to go with it anyway because it'd be consistent with the man. Jack Grealish.
It's not Jack Grealish. It is Tammy Abraham. So we scored nothing there in that round.
I've gone with Grealish as well.
Great round, Owen.
Thank you, Tommy. And great performance from you so far. You're joined first with 1 point. Adrian, great performance from you as well. You're also joined first.
Thanks,
Nathan, leader of the breakaway group on 0 points. Round 4.
I haven't got a question right in the first 3 rounds in about 10 quizzes, I think. Yet still.
Round 4.
And you're saying that like it's to your credit.
Well, it gives me the sense
your
that
sporting knowledge is terrible.
I'm being screwed over by incredibly difficult questions.
This is the fun free magic number round. Contestants get 3 points for getting the number exactly right. If no one manages that, the nearest contestant who doesn't go bust gets 2 points. The second closest gets 1 point. I'm going to state that we can only accept the answer that's written on your paper. And I'm also going to have to ask for your pens once the music ends. So if you don't mind, give us the following number. The number of goals Timo Werner has scored in all competitions for Chelsea this season, plus the number of FA Cups won by Pep Guardiola, plus the number of World Snooker Championships won by Ronnie O'Sullivan, plus the number of Premier League goals scored this season by Kelechi Iheanacho. Your 30 seconds expire when Sinatra sings Bright Shiny Beads.
What was the second one?
The number of FA Cups won by Pep Guardiola. The first one was the number of goals Werner has scored in all competitions for Chelsea this season. Then the number of World Snooker Championships won by Ronnie O'Sullivan. and then the number of Premier League goals Eoin has scored this season. Add them all up, what do you get? Nathan's finished, Tommy's finished. Adrian, what have you got?
I have 23.
23. Tommy?
Nathan, what you got?
22.
22. Tommy?
Ooh. I've got 20, and I just went down. I went down one.
I went down one as well.
I went 20, I went down one.
So Nathan's 22, Adrian's 23, Tommy's 20. I can tell you the answer is 28, which means Adrian gets 2 points.
No way.
Nathan gets 1 and Tommy gets nothing. So let's go through those. Werner has scored 11 goals for Chelsea in all competitions this season.
Jesus, has he? So what was the answer, 27 or 28?
28. The number of FA Cups won by Pep Guardiola is 1. The number of World Championships won by Ronnie is 6. And then Eoin scored 10 Premier League goals this season, which brings Adrian to a total so far of 3 points. Nathan comes to 1 point, and Tommy is also on 1 point. We tossed a coin earlier, and if it's Tommy versus Nathan, it's Nathan. So
no, really?
We move on to the final. Our winner tonight will be decided in the round that separates the men from the boys, the Tom Tuchels from the Tom Cruises. It's the theme in particular, ridiculously easy rapid fire round.
Here, Adrian.
The score you get in this round will be added to your score in the previous round, and there will be 40 seconds for everyone to answer from the same set of questions. So we're going to start with Adrian, then on to Nathan, and then on to Tommy. Adrian, I don't think you've been in this position since the champ year in 2019. If you get a question correct, I'll ask you another question and keep asking you questions until you get one wrong. Once you get a question wrong and move on to the next person, and your incorrect answer also means the deduction of 1 point. Adrian Barry, any final words before you move into this?
It's 3-1-1, is it?
3-1-1
You can only screw it up from here.
He looks nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Adrian
Barry.
Look at him. Look at his deep breaths.
Bring it on.
Your 40 seconds.
Pressure's weighing on his shoulders. Look at him.
Your 40 seconds starts.
Earn your place.
My 40 seconds. Let's do it.
Name the winning horse at this year's Aintree Grand National.
Manila Times.
Correct. Who's top of the League of Ireland Premier Division?
Time.
Too long. Same pass.
Finn Harps.
Rory Best is working with which Major League Rugby team? In which US city, Nathan?
San Diego.
No, Seattle. Who is trailing Lewis Hamilton in second place at the Formula One Drivers' Championship at the moment, Tommy?
Verstappen.
Correct. In what year did Galway last win a Football All-Ireland?
2001.
Correct. Name the NBA franchise in Phoenix.
Suns.
Correct. Who is top of the top 14 table right now?
Toulouse.
Correct. Mark Leishman is from which country?
I can't hear you.
Mark Leishman is from which country?
Australia.
Correct. Tommy Rooney coasts home and vindicates himself after last week's debacle, which was totally his fault. Let's remind ourselves. But it doesn't matter. This is all his credit.
Wow.
6 points.
Can't believe that.
To Adrian's 3 points to Nathan's 0. Wow. This has been a turn up for the books. Tommy Rooney, take it away.
From the depths of hell. From the depths of hell.
How many points did Nathan get?
0.
Well,
but I was absolutely screwed over in this quiz by the question.
All your big talk. Listen, Eoin, I came up with an idea there during the week listening to Type 5 and off the back of last week's quiz. We did a lot of thinking over the weekend. I think we should bring in a challenge. Each contestant can get a challenge, a Quizmaster's challenge in a quiz.
That's not happening. There's already, 14 challenges per quiz.
You mean sort of when Eoin tries to screw me over with far more difficult questions than everyone else, I can say, actually, hold on a second, Eoin, give me an easier question.
Is that not the exact format already? Everything is challenged.
Yeah.
Would it not be more interesting if you couldn't challenge? Number one. And number two, how have we found ourselves the whole way through with a week that's in it on this quiz, and there hasn't been one question about Katie Taylor or her opponent for...
And his stream has frozen.
You got cut off.
Just at the crucial time. It is true.
Had you prepared for Katie Taylor?
The last hour and a half. Anything you want to know? Bring it on.
This is the easiest question ever.
Delphine Persoon, quarterfinals London 2012.
I'm delighted to win.
Tajikistan in the semi-final. Oh, listen, whatever you're having yourself, like.
Well, sorry about that, Adrian. Tommy Rooney, congratulations, fair play. This has been the crappy quiz. We'll see you in the same time.
Give me a shot.
In the same
place. Give me a shot at Gilroy.
Fridays, OTB AM. Tommy versus Gilroy. We'll see you then.
I was just saying that was one of the good days, I would imagine, at the sports ground. That late try against Gloucester. That was sort of your trademark move, wasn't it?
Yeah, geez. When I started playing, then I was like, oh my God, that's a throwback. Fans, crowd, last minute wins. Geez, I haven't had any of that for a long time.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be back very, very soon. You're joining us for the launch of the Big Rugby Run 2021. It'll take place virtually on May 22nd with funds raised going towards initiatives run by Tackle Your Feelings, a mental health and wellbeing programme. The programme is run by Rugby Players Ireland and Zurich Ireland with the support of the Zurich Foundation. You can register a team for this year's event now by visiting thebigrugbyrun.com. You're joining us from France. You're playing your club rugby in France at the moment. Hopefully I pronounce it right, Robin. Correct me if I'm wrong. With Soyo Angoulême.
Yeah, that's a lot better than I attempted the first time around anyway, yeah.
So you've been there since last summer. Was this a simple case of needs must? There was no contract and offer in Ireland and you wanted to keep playing?
Basically. Yeah. There was... I was told the Connacht, look, there's nothing there for you, and I said, yeah, that's absolutely fine, understandable. And yeah, look, my agent explored all options, and an old coach that I had back in Rotherham years ago was coaching here at the time, and he got in touch with my agent, and yeah, look, the move happened pretty quick. I'd say I had nothing and then had signed within nearly 48 hours. So yeah, it all happened pretty quick, trying to get the logistics sorted out with my girlfriend and family and trying to figure what was the best move. But yeah, look, delighted we came over, and we're trying to make the most of it anyway.
Making it in Irish rugby is often seen as playing with the four provinces, of being a regular, of getting contracts, and you had spells at Munster and at Connacht, but I guess having started your career in England and having a couple of spells with Plymouth and with Rotherham, you always knew there was life outside of Ireland.
Yeah, and I'd urge any young player to not judge his success of his career by those four provinces. There's so much more out there. You can go and travel and see the world and literally have a career in rugby. It's not just the pride of playing for your province. There's a career there, and there's a lot of options, and I think more and more guys are exploring those options, whether it be America, Japan, France. There's been Irish players playing in every league now, basically around the world, and those doors are definitely open.
And I guess they're going to have to, because you look at what is coming through in Irish rugby. It has been such a success story in many ways, particularly at Leinster, where it will just be the very cream of the crop who get to play for Leinster. The next step down are going to probably end up transferring to Connacht or Ulster, and then there's going to be a huge crop of players who you don't want to lose, who actually may not be in that position at 21, 22, who actually a good trip of playing senior men's rugby in England or in France could do them the world of good. Could it be exactly what they need, rather than sitting waiting for opportunities off the bench in the Pro 14?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, going over to the UK and playing the championship, that absolutely made me as a player, having the opportunity to play 80 minutes week in, week out, work on my strengths and my weaknesses, and that absolutely stood to me, and I wouldn't have had the career I had today, if it wasn't for that opportunity to go over there and do that. So, for young guys who see, 6-7 players in the line ahead of them, to be able to go overseas and play in, one of the leagues there. You think Ireland has 4 teams, the UK has 24, France has 16 in the top league, there's 14 in the top league, 16 in the Pro D2, and then even Federal 1 is a professional league. So the opportunities to come over and explore our parts of the world is breathtaking, really, when you think about it.
Has the attitude towards those moves changed a lot since, say, a decade ago when you went to England? Is there now more an acceptance, even from agents, pushing players towards, open your eyes here, go take that opportunity?
Yeah, I think not even from agents. I think players themselves have been like, oh, I'd love to get over to France, or I'd love to go and do, that drive is coming from the players themselves. The money in France at the top level anyway is exceptional, and players can really make an absolute fortune there if they want. And you see a lot of top guys going over, even just for 2-3 seasons and coming back and being able to, you know, have no mortgage and no worries, and you know, that's a big draw for guys, as well as the sunshine and the weather and the whatever else, the different cultures and, you know, experiences that you have. But yeah, it's a big draw.
You obviously have had a very successful career as well. You play for Ireland, so you got right to the very top. You talk about the sort of pride of place angle there, and even though you came through at Leinster, you know, you ended up playing at Munster, and there's probably nowhere where that sort of pride of place is more to the fore of what the ethos of the team is meant to be about. Is that a difficult thing to live up to as a player coming into? Because every player who comes into Munster is being judged on the greats that have gone in the past, and that sort of raw energy of that era of O'Connell and O'Gara, and even of the players that came before them, that it's not just about turning up and do your job. You need to have a little bit of some magical Munster feeling about you as well.
Yeah, like it can be tough, and the expectation is there, like, without a doubt, and like that's also player driven, you know. And it's something that is very special in places like Munster. So yeah, it does play a factor, and maybe that's that added pressure. But I don't think there's any rugby player in any club anywhere that's not doing their absolute best, or don't have pride in what they're doing, or you know, want to do what's best for the team. So, you know, we all find our own motivation for things, and our reason for being there. And you know, Munster's maybe the pride and the history and everything else, but I think there's lots of other clubs and lots of other places that have plenty of history and pride as well. So yeah, look, without doubt Munster is a special place, and I absolutely loved my time there, and I've had some best moments of my career are in a Munster jersey, and yeah, look, I'm very very thankful and proud of those times.
Was it one of those cold November nights that was the match against the Maori All Blacks, where you probably had one of your best nights in a Munster jersey?
Yeah, like, for so many reasons, not just because we won. You know, it was a group of guys who kind of, the internationals were away. Everyone wanted to play in that game. We'd nothing to lose. It was just a one-off game. We could go out and enjoy ourselves. To, you know, face the haka for a lot of guys, it's their, including myself, first and only time. You know, it was just an unbelievably special day, and it's a day I'm proud of. Not just how I played, but to just be involved in and to play a part of was unbelievable.
How did you find that dynamic of the international players, and sometimes you were one of them, but of the international players, particularly at Munster, going away for long periods into Ireland camp, and you're there slogging away on those tough winter nights in the Pro 14, and then they rock back in for the Champions Cup, and understandably are going straight back into the team? Is it just a case you know what you're signing up for and you got to accept for it, and you're trying to use those games, weeks and months to put yourself in a position that you get to start those matches as well? Or is it a somewhat disjointed setup when you've almost got two different squads?
No, it's not disjointed. You know where you stand. You know, you'd hope that coaches would give you that honesty, and yeah, I think every player kind of knows their worth and knows their weaknesses and strengths, and you know, you try and work on your weaknesses as much as possible. You try and use your strengths as often as you can, and you know, when you're given those opportunities to make the most of them. And at the end of the day, for me anyway, it was always a team sport, and doing what was best for the team felt like, you know, I was doing my job if I was doing that. So if the guys coming in started ahead of me, you know what, and that was best for the team, I was happy enough with that. I would still do my job during the week of preparing them as best as possible, and you know, if I did get the nod, that I was prepared and ready to go. And I think as a player, that's all you can really do, is be as prepared as possible to add as much value as you can when you get the chance.
Did you get much of a sense of what Johan Gran was about in the few months you were there?
Yeah. I actually had a very good relationship with him. He's a very honest man. He's pretty open. He kind of wears his heart in his sleeve, and You know, there's no hidden layer to him that's I never felt like he was lying to me or trying to butter me up in any way. He was very open and honest, and I always appreciate that, and I was open and honest with him. And I think he's formed good relationships with players down there, and I think especially with younger guys coming through, he's given them opportunities and he's backed them, and I think it's really paying off.
The Pro D2 where you're playing now has a bit of a reputation, to put it mildly, has been one of the toughest, one of the most physical, and physical is putting it politely, I think, leagues in the world. Has it lived up to the hype?
Yes and no. Like it's just silly things. Like players will get into a scuffle and then everyone will dive in, whereas like, you know, I never will, unless I'm involved directly, which has happened a few times. But like, you know, it's easier for me to just save my energy. I'm like, okay, you can fight and pull all you want and be tired in 5 seconds, and I'll have my extra seconds rest. That's always how I kind of thought of it. But like, I have seen some just like hot-headed, stupid stuff that any sane individual wouldn't really do on a rugby pitch. But
go on, what sort of stuff?
Like one of our props headbutted a guy coming up out of a scrum when like 60 seconds into a game, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, you know, you're 60 seconds into a game, you've now got a red card and we have to play for 14 men for a whole game, and another opposition prop got up from a scrum, the ref pinged the penalty, and the guy just spat at him, and, you know, straight red card, obviously. And you're just like that's tuggery, like it's just stupid stuff. And it's things like that you just like, that would never happen. Even at AIL level, that wouldn't happen. You know, players just have too much respect for the referees. And, you know, they know that they're just letting the team down if they do something stupid like that. So I guess here there's a bit more French passion, if you will.
Well, if you will, yeah, because I guess we've learned more and more about the French game over the last few years because so many Irish players have gone across and the difference in the culture. But if your teammate's getting sent off after a minute, and firstly, like, there's the potential effect on the result, there's the effect on the 14 players who are suddenly physically going to have to take on what 15 players should be doing. Like, when you get into the dressing room, is this guy not been taken aside and said, like, this is not what we are about as a club? Is the coach not holding him over the coals? Like, is there fines, or is it just a, well, listen, that's what happens here?
No, like the player that happened to obviously felt very bad afterwards, and he didn't say anything. He was, you know, sitting in the corner with his hood up, you know, feeling sorry for himself, but like it's got kind of a bit too late for that now. And then, you know, that same player is the next week kind of half getting in scraps again in trainings or whatever, and you're like, you've clearly learned nothing, you know. Like it's just some people that's the way they are, and there's no real talking to them. And I think very much the French mentality of coaching as well is just kind of let players be themselves, and you try not to restrict them too much. And sometimes it pays off and you get amazing moments of talent, and sometimes it backfires and they do stupid things. So you take the good with the bad.
OTB AM with Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new